And what's going on, everyone? Welcome to the Off the Ball Free Agent Frenzy Special. And man, it's going to be an absolute wild day in the world of the NBA free agency. So, I have a great group of guys with me today for this free agent show. So, let's go around the horn and introduce these fine gentlemen. First, we got Stephen Gillespie from the Breaking the Game pod. We got Jerg from Bunts and Bruises. We got Kenneth Cottrell from Shoot Shoot Pod. And we got my first time talking to this man. We got Walker Bailey. What's going on, brother?
Not a whole lot. Just ready to. I'm kind of I'm not even cautiously optimistic. I dread the next 15 minutes. The Spurs are going to do bad things, and I'm not really prepared for the direction of the franchise. But there's a lot of that going around, I think, for middling franchises in the NBA right now.
Yeah, it's going to be a very interesting day for your Spurs and for a lot of teams around the association. So first, let's start with you, Steven. We're a little bit under 11 minutes.
Yep.
Or right around 11 minutes before free agency officially begins. So is there anything that you think that that you're not expecting to happen, that you think will happen as we get closer to free agency starting time?
Oh man, I mean, there's always things that you're not expecting to happen that do, and so like if I'm preparing my mind for that, I just think that Dennis Schroeder is going to get more is going to get paid higher than even what I'm imagining in my mind. I think some team, as the point guards are going to start finding new homes, some teams are going to say, "All right, look, we need a point guard." Schroeder was a Sixth Man of the Year candidate a couple seasons ago. I believe in our coaching staff. Let's sign him. And I just look at him and look, he's a really good player, capable of starting on a team. But I think that he kind of plays above, his head in a way. He's going to try to do more than what he should, if that makes sense. He doesn't really buy into a role. We saw that even on the Lakers. He came in day one and says, I'm the starter on this team. And you don't play that way on a LeBron James team. You kind of stay in your lane, play the role that you're supposed to play, and we see him leaving Los Angeles as a result of that. That's what really sticks out to me right off the jump.
What about you, Jerg? Is there anything that you think potentially wild stuff, a wild contract that we might see early on? What's your thoughts getting into free agency?
I'm definitely with Steven. I think the contracts for some of the point guards that we're going to see here will be very interesting when it comes to the likes of Dennis Schroeder. But what I really want to see, and this is also something, I don't get to enjoy this as a hockey fan with the NHL because it's almost like it's an unspoken rule in the NHL, and I think Kenneth can attest to this, that the GMs don't go after any of the tendered restricted free agents. They let organizations keep their guys on that front. So you don't really see any offer sheets in the NHL. I'm hoping we see some offer sheets here in the NBA. We have Devontae Graham was qualified. Of course, John Collins is qualified. I'm going to be interested to see what kind of deals some of these restricted free agents get as teams try to take them away.
Yeah. What about you, Walker? I know you Spurs. I know you said you were nervous about your Spurs and all that.
I just want to see what happens in the stretch big market. Collins, Markkanen, those are two names I have circled, and not only because the Spurs are interested, but what type of deals do those guys get? We got to a point last year where the Bulls traded for Vucevic, and all of a sudden Markkanen's not even starting on that team anymore. So what type of market does he have, and where does he end up? Do the Bulls match an offer sheet for him if it's a sizable offer? And then just kind of what is where is the line for Atlanta where they just are like, okay, we're not matching that for John Collins. So, and because they obviously didn't get anything worked out pre-deadline here. So he's going to at least go into the market without an agreement in place with Atlanta, because we would have heard about it by now.
Yeah, and that was the one where I think all the speculations were that he was going to re-sign, and for them to say that they haven't come to an agreement yet, we wonder. They made some moves in the draft. With Jalen Johnson, maybe they knew this was coming. It's kind of a replacement, possibly.
Well,
for John Collins.
If you remember on draft night, Woj said right after the Johnson pick that Atlanta, even after drafting Johnson, was still extremely likely to re-sign John Collins.
Yeah.
And so it's almost now like Collins played the game really well throughout the year. as in like he was like, oh yeah, like I don't care about my stats, like I'll do whatever to help this team win, and money's not the most important thing. But now here we are, like free agency deadline, and there's no deal. So I mean, he played the game really well.
Yeah,
So
that's
now, like, I mean, a lot of it is almost like nobody's going to be on John Collins wondering why a deal didn't get done. People are going to be on the Hawks wondering why didn't this deal get done and why didn't you come to the table?
yeah, definitely. What about you, Kenneth? What are you feeling about, we're 7 minutes away from free agency?
I mean, I'm just really intrigued by non-playoff teams last year and whether or not they make the right moves to ultimately move into the playoffs. I mean, we're talking about Chicago. There's been all this buzz surrounding Lonzo Ball potentially going there. We mentioned Markkanen. What are they going to be doing with him moving forward? You look at the Pelicans, who are looking to desperately keep Zion. I mean, are they going to get him some shooters? Or are they going to put the right talent around him to make him want to stay there long term? Toronto, given the situation with Lowry, are they going to sign and trade him? Are they going to get enough back if that happens to make a playoff push once again? And then, as you can tell by my name, I'm looking at how many Laker vet minimums we're going to sign tonight to one-year deals of 34 years or older. So I'm going to be intrigued by that.
What's the over/under? What, 0?
2.5.
2.5?
2.5. I think that's a fair line.
2.5. So we'll see, because obviously the Lakers, they traded for Russell Westbrook, and they don't have a lot of money left. I think they're tied up to what? 20 million dollars between 3 players, which is absolutely wild. It's wild that essentially 3 guys are making $40 million a year, and that's essentially all your cap is in 3 guys. Mm-hmm. So that was a very interesting move. Before free agency is about to start in 6 minutes, and this show is presented by MyBookie. Use promo code Off the Ball and get up to $1,000 and sign up bonus money. So head on over to our guys at MyBookie. Use the promo code Off the Ball, and let's win you some money. So Westbrook. Quick thoughts on that before free agency starts. What's your guys' thoughts about that move? Obviously, that move was made draft day. Kenneth, you are the resident Lakers fan here. So what's your thoughts on this move for the Lakers to acquire Russell Westbrook from the Washington Wizards?
I mean, I tweeted it immediately after that. If you asked me back in 2015 who my 3 least favorite players in the league were, it was Russell Westbrook, LeBron James, and Anthony Davis. And they're all on the same roster now for my Lakers. So I'm going to reserve judgment on it. I want to see how it's going to fit ultimately. I think Russ is more of a distributor now in his career, but we know that he can be prone to put up some bad shots at times. But I want to see if he can truly fit with LeBron and AD, because those guys have worked well together. They've obviously won a championship together. So can he come in and realize that he's not the number one guy there, and that he needs to play his role well? And I think if he does that, then they have a great shot at winning the title.
It's definitely going to be interesting to see that. Jared, what do you feel about the Westbrook going to the Lakers?
Just from my perspective, I wasn't exactly a fan of it per se. I understand why they ultimately made the deal, because I think what the Russell Westbrook trade is ultimately for is when LeBron inevitably misses the 12 to 16 games that he might miss in this season. And that 16 is kind of high, honestly. So I'll say more so 10 to 12, because he usually does hover around 70 here and there. Westbrook is there for that reason, to be the guy to help carry the offense when LeBron sits out, because we've seen it the last 2 seasons. The Lakers' offensive rating is at its highest whenever LeBron is on the floor. It's at its best when it's LeBron and AD. It's second best when it's LeBron, and it's worse when it's just AD out there with 4 other guys. So Westbrook is there to help the offense move. Like, he is there to help them win that random January game against the Charlotte Hornets, that February game against the Kings where LeBron feels like sitting out. Like, that's what he's there for. But if you're talking about fit, I wasn't necessarily a fan of it. I was a bigger proponent of, if they could have made the deal work with the Sacramento Kings, and maybe I understand on face value just Russell Westbrook or just Bradley Beal. Just Russell Westbrook or just Buddy Bradley. That of course most people go for Westbrook, but I would have pushed more to see if I could have gotten like another rotational player from that Kings team, try to fill out this team a little more with what you were giving up, and ultimately have gone for the shooting. It feels like And I know, Steven and Chris, you guys have brought up, I think it is a real question of, like, are we beginning to slightly overvalue shooting a little bit when it comes to NBA now? But what I don't think is overvalued is the fact that there's a formula to how LeBron teams go far. It's LeBron, it's the other star on the court with him, and then it's the other one good defensive player if it's not already out there, and then shooters. Like, it's not really that hard to build a team around LeBron. So now it's going to be LeBron, Russ, and AD. The other two guys have to be shooters. Like, that can't be a question. It has to be shooting that surrounds them. And like Kenneth said, like the over-under counter of how many vet min contracts they're going to get, hypothetically, let's say they go after 4 guys and they get 4 vet min guys. 3 of them have to be shooters at least, or at least 2 of them, because this team needs to be able to shoot to go up against the better teams in the West. I'm not concerned if they're fully healthy this next season and they go up against Utah and Phoenix. I have no doubt the Lakers can win those series. But when it comes to facing Denver, another year of Jokic being great and Murray coming back, when it comes to the Clippers and Kawhi coming back and Paul George being there and being confident again, when it comes to a 7-game series against Dallas, which we have seen Luka by himself can get them to a Game 7, you need shooting to compete with those 3 specific teams. And so that's my concern when it comes to Lakers. So that's why I'm not a fan of the Westbrook thing from that perspective.
What about you, Walker? How you feeling about Westbrook to the Lakers?
I mean, I question the fit. I mean, it's just I'm kind of in wait and see mode. You know, I don't have a super strong opinion about it. I just kind of question a lot, like I did with Brooklyn initially, is how are all 3 guys going to get shots and how are they going to play off of each other? I would have rather seen the Kings deal and then fill out the roster otherwise. Like, one of the guys that I would have really liked seeing to see run a bench unit for, and maybe some late minutes in the 4th for the Lakers is like a guy like Patty Mills, where that dude can spot up and shoot. He knows how to cut. He knows how to play off other people without the ball. And that's a guy who's going to get paid. He knows how to come off the bench on a LeBron, or not on a LeBron team, but just on a championship level team in general. I would have seen them try to fill out the entire roster as opposed to just adding another dude in there, where now it's kind of like, how are we going to get all 3 guys shots? Can Russ play off ball? Because we don't know. You don't want to take the ball out of LeBron's hands and turn him into the off ball guy. Like, that's not really his strong suit either. So, I mean, there's just a lot of questions that are going to have to be answered that require coaching. And Frank Vogel, I'm not sure if he's the guy that figures all that stuff out. And it's hard to manage egos while trying to figure stuff out like that on the fly. So,
yeah.
First deal is in.
Lonzo Ball has agreed to a 4-year, $85 million deal with the Chicago Bulls.
And
got to see if it gets matched.
yeah, because he is a restricted free agent. So, yeah, Shams just literally reported 18 seconds ago has agreed to a 4-year deal worth $85 million to sign with the Chicago Bulls. So that's the first thing. He is a restricted. So New Orleans does have what I believe how many days they have to match it? I forgot the amount of days. 3 days. I think it's 3 days. Yeah, 3 days. Most likely, from all the reports we've heard from, they're probably not going to match it. So most likely he will be a Bull, but you never know. You never know. It's the NBA, man. We've seen some wild things, so you just never know. So, but Lonzo Ball has agreed to a 4-year deal worth $85 million with the Chicago Bulls. I really wanted him in New York. So this one hurts. But
quick thing we talked about earlier. I was just listening to a clip from Shams about 5 minutes ago. He says that the Hawks and John Collins are not even close, and there is 0 momentum towards a deal.
Oh, wow. So, wow. Okay.
So, yeah, if you wanted to know where things stood in those negotiations, that's where they stand. We can resume talking about Lonzo Ball.
Hardaway Jr. just signed, too. He 4-year, $72 million deal to return to Dallas.
Oh, wow.
4 years, $72 million. Okay. So far, Shams is beating Woj. I haven't seen anything from Woj.
Mike Conley has returned to the Jazz, 3 for 68.
Yeah, just saw that.
Okay, so Tim Hardaway signs a 4-year, $72 million deal to re-sign with the Dallas Mavericks.
Has Woj woken up yet? Like, is due to wait?
Woj, he got one in.
Woj just got one in.
He got the Lonzo deal in.
Shams is working him, though.
I know, Shams is working him.
He was kind of doing the same thing at the draft.
Mike
Boban
Conley.
is re-signing with Dallas. If that's something that you're interested in.
Oh, Boban, cool. Yeah, keep
Yeah.
them coming. Even the irrelevant ones. I'm down with.
That's almost the same exact deal that Hardaway signed when he got his
With
first
the
ever
Knicks.
contract.
So
Yeah,
Will
with the
Barton,
Knicks.
Will Barton will return to the Nuggets on 2 for
Oh.
32.
Wow.
We are going in right now. We got a lot of things. All right, so just to refresh people, Tim Hardaway has agreed to a 4-year, $72 million deal to return to the Dallas Mavericks. Mike Conley Jr. has agreed to a 3-year, $68 million deal to return to the Utah Jazz. And
Ball.
we have the Lonzo Ball.
Will Barton.
Okay, what else we got? We got
Boban Marjanovic staying
okay,
with
so
the
we got
Mavericks.
Boban Marjanovic agreeing
Will
to
Barton.
re-sign with Dallas. The terms haven't come out yet, but he will re-sign with Dallas.
Will Barton's 2 for 32.
Will Barton is 2 years for 32, and he's going back.
That's fairly decent.
Yes,
that's good value.
That's a solid deal.
Really
That's-
I hate the Mike Conley amount.
You
What's
hated
the
it.
number?
I mean, it's a little north of 20 a year to be
That's
there.
not bad because 20 million today isn't like what it used to be now. Like
That's,
Yeah.
that's what I
like
always
a max contract is like
That's-
40 million now.
That's
so
that's kind of a starting point guard rate. We literally just saw Alonzo go.
That's
off for
actually
20
cheap.
mil.
That's actually
Yeah.
cheap in today's.
Yeah, but how
as
old
an
Conley?
all-star from the previous season too, he got voted to be an all-star.
Yeah.
So there's incentives in his contract too, right?
So there's a tweet. There's a tweet from the Denver side that said Will Barton had better offers and probably deserved more from Denver, but decided to come back to try to win one with Denver. Garrett
Yeah.
Temple going to New Orleans. Well, he tweeted New Orleans Hornets, so he's either going to Charlotte or New Orleans. On
I think he's wow. So we don't know where he's going.
Wow.
It's either
I'm gonna guess it's New Orleans. I'll take a wild guess there. It's
we don't know. He may still think New Orleans, are the Hornets.
I think some people do actually.
Someone on
Yeah.
the San Antonio side just floated the idea or floated that Doug McDermott to San Antonio might be something that gets done tonight.
Okay.
I could see that.
I would much prefer that to a huge offer for Laurie that the Bulls don't match.
I mean, do you do that if you just drafted a Weisskamp out of
Yeah,
Iowa?
I think so. Yeah, I think so. You can't rely on Joe to come in and be that dude, like be great right away. If he's on your bench unit and is a good bench player, that's fine.
Yep. All right, so I
so
don't
weird.
I don't see anything else yet.
I don't see anything else.
Garrett Temple to one of the either New Orleans or Charlotte.
We need confirmation of whether he's going to New Orleans or he's going to the Charlotte Hornets.
All right,
Okay.
so
It's New Orleans. He's going to New Orleans.
He's going to New Orleans. Okay,
that makes sense.
that makes sense. Okay, so we
The
got
Heat have an agreement in place to acquire Kyle Lowry, so the words there are pretty key there. They're going to acquire him, not just sign him.
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
so potential trade involving probably
Yes.
Goran Dragic.
Yeah.
I would assume Dragic is in the deal simply because they picked up his option, so it makes sense money wise to flip it.
Yep.
Oh well, long. Oh, it's okay. So
Yep,
we're
it's an
going
agreement.
in.
It's an agreement in principle.
Lonzo, man, for $85 million. Good for him. Big baller brand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess his dad's going to Chicago with him to try to beat Michael in a one-on-one contract.
Jimmy Butler just is agreeing to a max contract extension with the Heat when the league year opens on August 6th.
Okay.
Oh, wow. Yeah,
So-
yeah, because I'd heard those rumors that the extension was possible to happen. So that just confirms it.
Yeah, I guess that feeling comfortable with Kyle Lowry coming in.
Yeah, just
Kyle
the
Lowry's deal will be
flexibility,
3 years. It'll be a 3-year deal with the Heat via sign and trade with Toronto. As to what's going back to Toronto, I have no earthly idea.
It's probably going to be a
Pressure.
Goran
Dragic and
Dragic.
Achua.
I heard Dragic
Precious,
and Precious Achua. Yeah, Precious Achua was.
That's good value back for Toronto, though. I think Precious could do something.
yeah,
good
because
for
he
that.
could do the dirty work for them. Just
Yeah.
that's
4
what he's good
years,
for.
184 for
Yeah,
Butler.
4 for 184 for Butler.
That's a lot.
Yeah,
I
that
mean,
is not. So, rumor floating that Furkan Korkmaz could go to the Cavaliers.
Okay.
That's not. There's
Going-
no deal in place, but that's a thing.
Going
That's-
buddy up with C.D. Osman.
Yeah.
Wow, so we got things rolling. We got some. They 6 are on the dot. Let's see. I think we got
It's crazy how in 7 minutes all these people just
The
agreed.
Bulls, the Bulls who tried to acquire Lonzo at the trade deadline are extremely
Yep.
confident that the Pelicans will not match the deal for Lonzo Ball. Sign and trade talks are also forthcoming.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I highly doubt because the Pelicans they don't have anything in their back pocket to just outright lose that guy. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
I mean they have Kira Lewis Jr., who a lot of us at the network are pretty high on. I think that he's going to be good, but
the
I don't think that
Chicago
you just
Bulls are sending
lose him
Thomas
for nothing.
Satoransky, Garrett Temple, and a second-round pick to New Orleans for
There you
Lonzo
go.
Ball.
Wow.
There you go.
I'm gonna guess that Waj is working on something pretty large. Like,
Yeah, he's probably got
having-
his hands tied with one of the bigger names, like maybe DeMar DeRozan or let's see here, who else we got? Dennis
or
Schroeder,
John Collins or Laurie or someone like that.
Spencer Dinwiddie would be another one to keep your eye on.
Yeah, I wonder where. That's another one I'm interested to see where he ends up because he was out last year, if I remember
Yeah,
right.
but
Dinwiddie,
I mean,
right?
yeah, a lot of people are a lot of people are interested to see where he goes because I've heard rumors that maybe he goes to New York. That's one of the more prominent ones that I've heard.
Yeah,
I think
I've heard
Dallas
that.
has been floated out there.
Oh
Yep.
man, this can't be real. This can't be real.
What,
It's fake.
Chris?
No.
What is it?
Oh Lord, it's not real. Okay.
It's the Knicks, isn't it?
Dennis Schroeder.
no, worse. It was Alfred Payton.
Oh,
It was,
Laurie is.
you know how the NBA Central has like a bunch of ones, and you could easily get duped by it, and I get duped by it all the time. I just
Yeah.
it said Tom Thibodeau. And the Knicks. I should have known. It said Tom Thibodeau and the Knicks have interest in re-signing Alfred Payton.
Laurie is firmly on the table for San Antonio, even after the details of Chicago sign and trade with New Orleans.
What's that now?
I said Laurie is firmly on
Oh,
the
Lowry,
table for
okay.
San Antonio, and they're talking
Yeah.
about potential sign and trades.
That would make sense, and that's what I was saying earlier. That a 3-team deal was kind of rumored to be floated around earlier before free agencies kicked off.
Walker, I was going to say, because we kind of spoke about it a little bit with the Spurs on draft night about the idea that they have so many guards that they have to do something with them. Could you which one of the guards do you think could be flipped in a sign and trade with Laurie? It would have to be like maybe Derek
Michael
White.
Green,
Derek White.
2-year deal
Yeah,
to
Derek,
go back to the
Derek White
Nuggets.
would make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
That's not my pick. Like, that's not who I think I would get rid of. But so Spurs fans are really high on DeJounte Murray, and I think he's like he's a good player. I just think that there's this perception that he's going to continue to make some jump to being like a potential like second tier star.
Mhm.
Like
I
fringe
don't see
all-star
it.
type
I
guy.
think he is what he is right now, and like I'm okay if that's not your starting point guard. So Alec Burks 3 for 30 with the Knicks.
Burks
Oh,
coming back,
Burks is
huh?
back.
10 a year. That's not bad.
That's
Like
a
the that's almost the mid level.
yeah. That is the mid. Yeah, it's essentially the
Uh,
mid level, which is solid. That's good for him.
As free agency has kicked off, Doug McDermott is going to get more than the full mid-level exception, potentially from the Spurs. The Cavs are showing interest in Furkan Korkmaz as well as Reggie Bullock. So there's a couple little details in there that maybe weren't out before about McDermott. Nerlens Noel back on 3 for 32 with the Knicks.
Oh, okay.
Running their guys back, and they're
Running-
signing them long deals too. So
But not so long that they can't get out of them.
that's
Yeah,
true.
they're cheap. Yeah. I wonder if there's an option for those third years for Nerlens and Burks.
I would think so, because I think isn't 2023 projected to be like a big free agency class?
Yeah. That's what-
Woj tweeted both of those. So he wasn't working on anything huge. He was just slacking and getting taken to school. Jared Allen, 5 for 100 with the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
heard-
him re-signing was going to happen. There's no doubt about that.
I heard about that. They were talking about that on Sirius XM when I was heading home, and they had talked about Jared Allen possibly getting $100 million. So that doesn't shock me that they paid
Especially
him.
from a team like Cleveland. Like, why not? You know, he
Yeah,
he had a good run in
And
Brooklyn.
who else are you getting? Like, who are you getting? Like, so you might as well re-up your guys and just try to figure this thing out. You know.
That kind of
Him
confirms
pairing-
Mobley's going to be at the 4, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, most
absolutely.
likely,
I
yeah.
don't think that there was any doubt that Mobley was going to be running for that team.
Yeah, especially when you have Allen. It just makes sense to put him at the 4 and
Kevin Love buyout? Maybe.
Jared Allen behind. I mean, is he willing to to do a Blake and leave money on the table. That's the thing with Kevin Love.
Yeah,
He has
maybe.
not had a good few and then the Team USA thing where he could have probably like gained some more, leverage, try to, get his rep back, and then Jerry Colandro's like, oh, he was out of shape and it was awful that we got him, and
Why
it
are
was like,
people sweating $20 million a year for Jared Allen? That doesn't make sense to why are you not why would you
That's a
not
heck
be
of a
happy
deal.
about that?
That's an amazing deal.
That's a tremendous deal. Center with upsides, great shot blocker, shows that he's going to be able to possibly work on his, deep range, good rebounder.
they don't understand. Cleveland can't get free agents, so they have to do this, So maybe they could have maybe paid him $5 million less. But are we really gonna trip over, $5 million here? They develop, he's still young. He's he's young. You get to build with Mobley and try to see what you can do there. Try to salvage whatever you have left in Cleveland.
You think Cleveland waits until after the trade deadline to move Colin Sexton to try to up his value for a team that might have missed out on a point guard?
That could be a path.
That could be something. Yeah, that definitely could be something.
So y'all want to talk about this Lonzo Ball to Chicago a little bit more in depth while we're waiting?
Yeah, let's get into that.
Probably try to do anything, then somebody else signs. So
yeah, let's get into that. Lonzo Ball, like you said, just signed a 4-year deal. Like I said, he's restricted, so the Pelicans can match it. We don't expect them to, but like we said, you just never know. But most likely, he will be a Chicago Bull. How do we like that fit for Lonzo Ball in Chicago? Obviously they have Zach LaVine. They added Vucevic last year. So how do you feel about the fit, Steven?
I like it a lot because you take the ball, you don't take the ball outright as Zach LaVine's hand, but you get someone who can help him share in the playmaking ability. Obviously, he's going to be a better facilitator for that team, a better defender, similar size, so that makes their backcourt very switchable. I like it a lot too that Lonzo improved his 3-point shooting last season as well. So if LaVine's driving in addition, you're not going to feel bad about kicking the ball out to a Lonzo Ball. Another guy that can push the break. It helps their backcourt rebounding as well. So you get the ball, you run the break, give Vucevic a head start, maybe Snowbird down the open court. That would be something to see. And it keeps their team relatively young and growing together too, because you just drafted Patrick Williams last season. You're going to have another guy who can set him up and give him some pretty clean looks, because Ball is actually, a really good facilitator as well. I think that it helps that team overall tremendously just to have another guy who you can rely on with the ball in his hands to make a good decision.
Yeah, and some breaking news: Kelly Olynyk has signed a 3-year, $37 million deal with the Detroit Pistons.
Oh, okay.
So,
I have a problem with that.
Shoot.
I don't know why somebody who's contending for an NBA title couldn't find $12 million a year to pay Kelly Olynyk. The dude's a really good role player on good teams. I don't know why a contender didn't find a way to strike a deal with Kelly Olynyk instead of having him play for the Detroit Pistons.
I actually love the deal though for Detroit, because you just traded away, Mason Plumlee, so you get another center who is not a bad passer, a good floor spacer as well, so that opens the lane up for Cade, someone who's be a good pick. And
I agree.
Yeah.
No, I agree. I think Detroit did the right thing. I don't blame Detroit. I blame contending teams in the NBA for not finding a way to get that deal done.
Boston was actually rumored to try, that they were going to try to get him, Jeff Green, Avery Bradley, basically a bunch of the older Celtics that they had on this team, because Brad Stevens trusts them. And what did we hear reports of from last year? That, guys in the locker room were becoming a problem. And, bringing guys back for rookie head coach, Udoka, I think that's what Stevens was kind of targeting to make his first year a little bit more seamless,
So that's why I wanted Horford, in part to get rid of Kemba, but also
Pacers have come to terms with TJ McConnell.
Ooh, wow.
Okay. McConnell's a good guard, man. He's a good second or third option.
He's a good backup point guard. I would have thought some mid-level, real playoff contending team would have gone after him.
Yeah,
other than Indiana keeping him as a mid-level.
He feels like an Indiana Pacer though. He just
That's
fits.
true.
No, he does. Yeah, there's just dudes that feel like that, and that's
it's like Spurs. Like Walker, like there's certain guys who are Spurs guys. If Indiana feels like they have Indiana guys, and
Joe Wieskamp is a Spurs guy.
Yeah, that's what I
yeah.
said when they picked him up. I was like, that's such a
yeah,
Spurs
yeah.
pick.
I probably mocked them in like a bunch of drafts we did, before the draft, and I was like, Wieskamp just feels like a Spur. Like it just made sense. Like,
Do you guys see Woj's tweet about Conley?
What do you say?
No.
He said 3 years, 72.5.
for
Okay.
Conley?
Originally 368.
Okay, so it's getting worse.
Yeah, like
That's a lot. That
Well,
is a lot
68,
for him.
72 and a half. That's just like 1 point something mil a year extra on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's getting worse though.
I mean, like
I mean, again, 20 million, like a little over $20 million a year for a starting point guard is not a bad rate. You know what I mean?
I don't
Like,
think
if
it's bad for his first year, maybe the second. I just think that third year there, when he's 36, it's gonna be
yeah,
gonna be tough for Utah.
definitely wait
Okay,
to see what
yeah.
the terms are on that.
It's
for that
72.
third year.
Yeah, it's 72.
Yeah, like if it's team option for the third, then I think they're fine. But
Yeah.
Okay, so we're pretty up to date so far. Like we said, the Knicks re-signed Nerlens Noel and Alec Burks to 3-year. Burks got 3 years, 30. Noel got 3 years, 32. Jared Allen signed a 5-year, $100 million contract. Like we said, Kelly Olynyk agreed to a 3-year, $37 million deal with the Pistons. And Conley, it was 3 years for 68, as reported earlier. It is now 3 years, 72 and a half to re-sign with the Utah Jazz. So
I'm not gonna lie. I thought you said McConnell there for a second. I'm like, wait, McConnell got
That's what I thought he said.
$60 I was about to lose.
Mike McConnelly.
Mike McConnelly.
Nice.
So Hardaway's is actually worth 74. So basically, what Woj has been doing is going back and correcting all of Shams' deals because they weren't right.
Woj wants to take it back.
The pettiness. So it's 74 for Tim.
Yeah.
Okay, so Tim Hardaway is 4 years, 7. I mean, man, Tim Hardaway. The Knicks gave him a lot of money. He's got some nice contracts these his last two deals. So
Second straight $70 million deal. That's pretty good.
yeah,
That's pretty good.
it is. What else? Do we have anything else going on? Any other?
Not that I see.
Woj just posted something. All right, he just reposted that 74 for Tim Hardaway.
So two of the bigger names that are, quote unquote free agents right now are Chris Paul and Kawhi Leonard, right, guys? But it's largely believed that both of those guys come back to their team. What do you guys think about that?
I could see it. Like, I feel like while Phoenix just did have that good season, I don't think it'd be right for them to mess with the formula a lot because Chris Paul was really good for them. Like, I know it was this whole argument: are we overrating the impact Chris Paul made? Are we underrating it? And you could probably go like you could see from both perspectives why we're speaking a little bit too much to what Chris Paul did, but at the same time, like if his presence is not there, like they would probably have been a playoff team this year, but they wouldn't have been contending for the top seed in the West. There's just no way. So I think if you're Phoenix, I don't think, like, again, this team is a playoff caliber team. I think if Chris Paul leaves it, they would be a playoff team. They wouldn't fall off like OKC did this year, not by any stretch of the imagination. But there would be something missing there. Like, I know Campaign had this comeback campaign for him, literally.
Hey,
But
oh, that was a good one.
campaign.
Jared, that's good.
Thank you.
Campaign. Wow.
but at the
Wow. Hey, Phoenix. I don't know if they've used this already. They may have. I don't know. I haven't seen it, but hey, if he resigns, go to Jerg and get the copyright for this because that was great.
thank you. But at the same time, like, I just don't think it's a good idea to mess with it too much, and especially like I know Phoenix, they had this season, but they're kind of been for a while. Like, free agents don't really go to Phoenix of like a Chris Paul's level of name. Like, if they don't get
Usually
Chris Paul,
they're
back
older when they do, right?
Yeah, typically, or like they draft, they get lucky to draft the guy, or they trade for the guy or sign him in free agency. Like they got lucky with Steve Nash, right? They were able to get Joe Johnson in a trade when he was still young from the Celtics, guys like that. But they have such a long history of letting those guys go. Like if you go back to like the mid 2000s, they've let so many good players go. I don't think you can make that same mistake here. I think you just have to bite the bullet. If Chris Paul wants a 3-year deal, like full 3 years, not a player option at that third season, you have to give it to him because you're not going to find a player that will make Chris Paul's impact now. You're just not going to do that. That makes it at the point guard spot.
You're just not.
And it makes sense too because he's actually trying to kind of showing team loyalty in a sense where, yeah, he's getting money longer over time, but he just took, roughly $14 million haircut off of just this 1 year.
And that could
So
bring back campaign.
yeah,
Yeah.
if they play their cards right, they have a little bit of money that they can use to try to fill out this roster and run it back.
And also for the future, because Aiton's deal and Mikhail Bridges' deals are both coming up within the next 2 years.
Well, Aiton's is eligible for a max this offseason, so we'll see what that happens. Well, no news, but Shams just reported just about the salary cap. NBA set salary cap for 21-22 season, effective for August. Free agency, $112 million. Tax line is 136 million change. Cap tax for 22-23 is 119, and cap level is about 4 million higher than previous projections.
It's pretty good considering they just went through a COVID season.
Exactly,
no, for sure.
Let's see. I think Woj just posted something. Same thing. Just posted the same thing.
What do you think, Kenneth, about the Kawhi Leonard? He's going to be missing a little bit of time. Obviously in that first season. For him to be able to come back to the Los Angeles Clippers, we know that Serge Ibaka opted into his player option. What do you think about Kawhi returning back to the Clippers?
I just don't see another situation that improves for him. Like, given the makeup of the Clippers right now, they've got a lot of quality talent there. So I just don't see a situation where he leaves and then, like, the whole reason why he went there was he wanted to be closer to home, and, that is his home. So I don't see a situation where he wants to leave. I do think the Clippers are going to have to pay him, which is risky given the fact that he, suffered a major injury. So I don't know. I think he'll stay with the Clippers, though.
Yeah, I think that's the consensus here. So some bigger names still on the market right now. DeMar DeRozan, Walker, what do you think about his future just in the NBA in general? You're hearing a lot of different teams in play for him. What do you think about DeMar DeRozan's free agency?
Chicago would be a fun fit, and it feels like Chicago's still gearing up for one more big move before they kind of shut things down for this cycle, or just kind of move to like minimum deals. So it'd be interesting to watch him play alongside Lonzo and Levine potentially as a three or a small three, kind of as we get more positionless and stuff like that. So that'd be a fun fit, and they still kind of need a superstar there. I know Levine's a really gifted scorer, but they could use another scorer on that team, and so I think Chicago would be a fun fit. Obviously, the LA attraction is really real, but the Lakers are kind of out of the picture now after trading for Russ. So the Clippers are in the picture there, but that doesn't really feel like a good fit. Like, I kind of give Chicago the edge there as to where he ends up. And that's kind of what I'm hoping for. I think it'd be a good fit. I think it'd be a lot of fun. It might be a train wreck, but it would at least be fun.
Sometimes train wrecks are fun, Prez, I know that you changed your name on here to D-. And speaking of D-, your New York Knicks are a team that are rumored to be in play for DeMar DeRozan. What do you think about DeMar being a Knick? I saw you were kind of tweeting on that earlier today.
Yeah, I think people are like, and I've been thinking about this, and like I've really value shooting a lot, but then today I was like, am I overthinking it too much? Like, do I value shooting too much? Because I look at a guy like DeMar DeRozan and I'm like, he's a hell of a player. Like, why wouldn't you want him on a team? And I think people just, the narrative around him is that he can't shoot. And I know he's not shooting the three at a high clip, but still a very valuable player. The mid-range game, he's still great. He's one of the most efficient players in the league. His playmaking got better. So like, as far as the Knicks thing, because that's been kind of a rumor, and we've heard that rumor for a while. I think that would be a great fit. He can help RJ along, and that gives the Knicks another shot creator and a guy who can go off the dribble, and that's desperately what the Knicks need. So I wouldn't be mind if that's the move they were going to go with. I know a lot of Knicks fans weren't happy with it, but it's a move that I'm like, we see Evan Fournier that with 4 years 80, and it's like. And I think Fournier is a good scorer and all that, but I feel like DeRozan can give you so much more. Duncan Robinson has been someone that we heard about with the Knicks, rumored, and I know I value what he can do as an off-ball mover and as a shooter, but it's like he's good at one thing, and you can't neutralize one thing. We saw that with Bertans; they did it this year, right? He was so good last year, and the defense has kind of collapsed on Bertans, and he wasn't as effective. So. Yeah. and we saw with Joe Harris in the playoffs, right? When it's easy to shoot when you got Harden, Kyrie, and KD and everyone's doing, but when it's just KD and, he kind of, had to do a little more and he didn't shoot the ball great. So, I think DeRozan is being undervalued. I don't know why more teams would want him. I know Walker, he was on your Spurs these last 2 years, so maybe you can elaborate more on DeRozan and maybe why he's been underrated, these last few years. Maybe because he's, the Spurs have not been the Spurs of old, and they're just not on TV as much. And when he was in Toronto, they were in the playoffs. I just feel like he's being very underrated in free agency.
So, pop with news real quick. When Duncan Robinson's deal finally gets ironed out with the Heat, it's either going to be 4 years or 5 years. So he's going to get a long-term deal in Miami. As it goes for DeRozan,
it looks like Bobby Portis too signed a deal to return to Milwaukee.
Campaign 3 for 19 back in Phoenix.
Good deal. Oh, that's a great deal.
Run it back.
That's
an
deal.
Outstanding deal. That's almost like a prove it deal,
And if you're Chris Paul, that was worth it to take less, to get campaign back. And now you could use the campaign for campaign. Boom.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to DeRozan a little bit. He's really underrated as just a primary creator for others.
Yeah.
He's super strong in your pick and roll games. He averaged over a point per possession on in the pick and roll as the ball handler last year, and then he also did that while not ISOing a lot in San Antonio. So I think a lot of people are under the illusion that he went down there and just ISOed like hell and shot mid-range jumpers for 2 years, and the team was bad because of it. But that's definitely not how that went. He was their best player by a lot. And he did a lot of things. It's just the Spurs couldn't surround him with enough to be like a legitimately good team. I think a lot of times winning or losing clouds people's judgment as to what good players look like.
People also wrote off DeMar though, just in Toronto in general, because they remember the always losing to the Cavs, him jacking up 30 shots, and he completely revamped his career from the distributing perspective and becoming a better team player. And I think people just wrote him off because of that. And he was in a smaller market in San Antonio that probably isn't on TV a lot. So for the casual fan, they don't appreciate how good he truly was last year. But he's completely changed his game from what he was in Toronto, and people have never been able to get past that because we haven't seen him in the playoffs necessarily to see whether or not he changed there as well.
And I think too that when you look at a guy like DeMar DeRozan going to a team like a New York situation for you, Chris, is that it shows it's almost like a signal, like a fire signal to the rest of the league that we're ready to try to do something. You know what I mean? Because you already showed that Julius Randle can be a really good player. I don't know if your team's going to be super good with him being your team's best player, but as a second or third option, that looks pretty good. And then you bring in a DeMar DeRozan who also kind of as a third or second option, it shows a star, maybe a disgruntled star out in Portland, wink, wink, that, New York might be a really good situation for you.
What else we have going? I think I saw something else. Do we have anything else?
If I may, real fast, also when it comes to DeRozan, because I'm looking up some of the stats right now, because the Spurs did make the playoffs. I think 2018-19 was the first year that he was in San Antonio.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, you guys made the playoffs. His effective field goal percentage in that playoffs, his 2-point percentage, his effective field goal percentage, and his overall field goal percentage, all career highs in that 7-game series where they lost to Denver in 7, where they pushed that young Nuggets team. So, again, it may have only been 7 games, but when you look at some of the previous playoff runs, like 10 playoff games in 2018, 10 in 2017, where the stats were much worse and only 3 more games, I think if we're just going based off the last time he was in the playoffs, last time he was in the playoffs, he actually played pretty well. He played above the standard. So, kind of what you were saying, Steven.
Jimmy Butler in Miami carry a team to the finals too, right? And he's not like a terrific 3-point shooter, but mid-range and distributor. DeMar DeRozan can kind of give you those same, albeit probably not the same level of defender.
Right, but if there's defenders there at the same time, it's perfectly fine. And when you also consider Miami plays such a good team-orientated defense, and the fact that again you also have Bam on to help you out defensively for Jimmy. If DeMar goes to the right team that has the pieces there, I don't think you have to worry about the defense too much with him. Like if he goes to Chicago, Lonzo and Patrick Williams are the two defenders in that lineup for him, and he's a decent defender. And then Levine and Vucevic could just do whatever they can to not let their matchup score 30 plus on them per night.
All right. So what are you guys feeling about the Olenek?
So Chris,
to the
I don't know if you
Pistons?
saw, but
Olenek to the Pistons. How you
I was
feel
just
about
gonna
that?
say our buddy Bryce Simon.
And I think we lost Steven.
It looks like it.
Looks like we lost him.
Steven, we lost you.
Oh,
All right.
by the way, fast Prez Shams put out the details on the McConnell deal for Indiana. It's 4 years, $35 million.
Okay, just saw that. All right. So TJ McConnell had agreed to a deal with to return to Indiana. It is 4 years, $35 million. That's really he led the league in steals, so that is a really good deal for Indiana. So he brings a lot of energy, and if they stay healthy, they're going to be good. But back to Olenek, what are you guys feeling about Olenek? To Detroit. I mean, Detroit obviously the number one pick. They get Cade Cunningham. They have some good pieces from last year: Killian Hayes, Isaiah Stewart, and others. Sadiq Bey, another one. So how are we feeling about that move? Do you think he brings some veteran leadership to that team?
I think people forget that Olenek's only 30 years old because it feels like he's been around forever, and that
he looks
be a lot older, right? So, like at 30 years old, like he's still got plenty of years left. I think he'll play a good role there in Detroit. I mean, he's not going to start, but he's a great guy to have on the bench unit, I think. And I mean, I don't love the dollar figure, but Detroit's not in a win now situation anyways, so I don't think it's going to hurt them, given by the time they want to pay some of these rookies, he's going to be off their books anyways.
It's just a floor spacer for Cade,
Yeah.
and he's a really good passer out of the post, so you're making up a little bit what you lost with us sending out, Mason Plumlee as well, because they liked having a little bit of that handoff action up in Detroit as well. So, playing next to a guy like Jeremy Grant, that kind of helps his defensive limitations, but stretching the floor at the big man position, especially at that price, I mean, you can't really beat what Detroit did there.
He's also, like, when you talk about veteran experience, while it's nice to have, like, you always want to have a young core when you're a team like Detroit, but you can't just have 15 young players on rookie deals. That team ain't going to do that much winning. Like, the OKC, please listen to me. Like, you need to have veterans there to help bring these young guys along, to challenge them in practice, to show them what it's like to be a professional. And Olenek is going to do that for a lot of these guys. Like, when you talk about veteran experience, he's played in, 3-4 Eastern Conference Finals. He's played against LeBron James in, like, almost every single postseason in his career. He's made it to the NBA Finals on a team. Like, he's going to be able to, just talk to these guys and teach them. It's like if one of them gets, like, these frustrations that all young players get, we see it at all levels. Like, young players are going to get frustrated, emotional, stuff like that. Olenek will be that calm veteran presence that is going to just be there for these guys and just kind of help them calm down. Like, he's we kind of forget in Detroit, Dwayne Casey's the head coach. Like, this is a veteran coach for Dwayne Casey. He needs a couple of these guys there to kind of help him out in Detroit, to bring these young guys along, and also to, like, the veterans need to help. And this is part of the reason I think they were always going to fire Stan. But why things failed in New Orleans, I don't think there were enough quality veterans there to help the young players try to buy in to the coach's system. Like, you need veterans there to help the young players understand what the coach is trying to do. Because in today's game, where the player communication with one another is key, like, this could be something that Detroit really needs, that kind of ultimately decides, like, is Dwayne Casey going to be the coach for the foreseeable future? Because with Cade now, with Killian, Sadiq Bey, all these guys, you need to find the right coach for them. And could Dwayne Casey be the guy? I'm not going to rule it out. I'm not going to do that. But if we think, like, because we have that question now, like, who is going to be the guy? It doesn't mean he's not, but it doesn't mean he definitively is right now. So that's what remains to be seen. So that's why I think it's a pretty good pickup for them. And for $12 million a year, like, if some people may consider that an overpayment, I just call that, like, the rebuilding team tax. Like, you need to pay a little bit extra to get some of these guys to come to your team. Like, a 3-year, $24 million deal wasn't going to do it. Like, a championship team could offer that to Olenek, but a Detroit needs to offer, like, $12 million a year.
Yeah, you need, like, simple, like my guy Kareem said, you need vets. Like everyone wants to have the youngins on the team, but you need those vets, here and there, and to place it, on your team, so you can make sure the youngins are doing the right thing and teach them how the game, because they haven't. Look at Detroit's very young. They are a very young team, and we expect them to be on the rise. They've these last 2 drafts they've done really well, but you need those vets, and sometimes you got to pay a little more for a guy like Kellen. But I think he's a solid vet. He can provide some shooting. So, I don't think it's a why. And like we mentioned before, like $20 million for like Alonzo Ball is not $20 million like it was, 10, 15 years ago, right? $20 million is like, wow, it's a steal.
Even 5 years ago, Chris, because 2016 was that first cap explosion.
Yeah. Oh my God, the cap explosion of 2016 was absolutely absurd. But like, we saw some wild. I mean, Mozgov getting $75 million. Like, we saw some crazy deal. Who else? Evan Turner. Luol Deng. I mean, they were, and it's crazy. The teams regretted it,
man.
Okay, easy on Luol Deng. That's
Ryan
Luol
Anderson.
Deng was
he's currently our 4th highest paid guy on the roster right now.
They're still paying.
Yeah, we're still paying.
Hey, the Knicks are still paying Joakim Noah, if that makes you feel better.
Are the Pistons still paying Josh Smith?
I was just about to ask that. I think they're paying him for at least one more year. I think.
Let me see. I'm gonna shout out to my guys at No Trade Clause. They do a great job of breaking down.
Shams finally. Kyle Lowry is signing with the Miami Heat.
That's official. Okay.
Word. So, what do we think about that fit? You got
no
Kyle
details.
Lowry. Oh, go ahead, Kenneth.
No details about it yet. Oh wait,
there is detail. I think Woj just posted something about.
It's gotta be a trade, right?
It's Kyle Lowry just tweeted out Miami Heat times Kyle Lowry. Let's go, with a bunch of Heat emojis. I think it's a good fit for them. I think Lowry will buy in, especially to the Heat culture of like defense and winning. Like, that's been pretty much his entire career. He's been focused more on the defensive side. They need a distributor, but also a knockdown shooter, which Lowry's both of those. So I think it's a great fit for Miami. If it's a 3-year deal, it's probably similar to like Connolly, where depending what that 3rd year is, then we'll see about that. But I think it's a good fit for a win now team in Miami.
I don't like signing Lowry long-term really for any team, because I feel like he's kind of at the point now to where it's going to start coming down fast, and I think that this is a move.
Duncan Robinson just re-signed.
All right, cool.
Duncan Robinson has agreed to a 5-year, $90 million deal with the Miami Heat.
He could have got more money elsewhere. He really could have.
5 years, 9. I mean, like we mentioned before, we talked about Bertans getting paid last year and Joe Harris. 5 years.
At least Duncan's proven that he can do it in the playoffs, though.
Wow.
Like I don't love paying a shooter that much money, but like Bertans just got it because he had like a good shooting year or two.
Yeah. It's the largest deal ever for an undrafted player.
Good for him.
Props to him for making it.
Yep. I mean, good for him. I mean, it's
great
a
podcast.
Yeah, he does have he does have a good show.
Trae Young and the Hawks just are expected to finalize a 5-year, $170 million deal.
Walker, did you see that? Did you see the Duncan Robinson just got 5 years, $90 million from the Miami Heat?
Come back in and say shooting's expensive.
Shooting is expensive.
Not that bad, considering what we've seen other shooters go for. I mean, that's under $20 million a year.
To the Pacers, that's just gross.
Sorry, Craig, what?
To the Pacers, it's just gross.
It's a lot of money.
He's a Rick Carlisle type player. I can see it.
Yeah, I mean, gives you a little bit of insurance. So, if TJ Warren misses time, they're probably
kids out there, learn how to
shoot.
Learn how to shoot, because it gets you $90 million. All right, don't worry about anything else. You don't have to learn how to drive. You don't know how to play defense. If you know how to shoot off the ball, move off the ball, you can get $90 million, kids. So I gotta, if my son's listening, let's get the off ball movements and all that, because $90 million on the table.
Just have him shoot like 1,000 threes a day.
5 years, $90 million. That is a lot of cash. Undrafted free agent too. Like it's.
I'm gonna hope that this Pat Riley double down actually works on like the last ones, because the last The last notable double downs on guys like this, it was Whiteside, Tyler Johnson, Dion Waiters, James Johnson, and that
Tyler
was
Johnson.
depression. That was pure depression.
So
Like,
Poison
Tyler
pill.
Johnson. Yeah, that was bad.
Poison pill.
and this may have already been said in here, but per Sam Amick, Trey Young and the Hawks are finalizing a 5-year, $170 million extension.
Worth
So-
every penny.
Did the Kyle Lowry numbers for his deal come out yet?
I haven't seen it.
No, but I mean, it's obviously done. Lowry posted on Instagram it was like K Loud X Miami Heat.
Yeah.
So like, I mean,
I
it's
just
done.
see him aging poorly in Miami, man. I really do. And like they don't run the floor that much, so that'll probably help him in his game.
Fat
And
butt Lowry.
they can run an offense through Jimmy. They can run an offense through Bam as well. So he's not going to come in there and be like
Mhm.
a Chris Paul type player on that team. So I don't know, man. I just have a feeling he's going to age poorly in Miami.
I think the only thing, like, physically, because I was kind of worried, like, depending on where he would go about him breaking down. But in Miami, like, the guys just don't break down there. They come in year one, they get into the best shape usually their careers. Like Oladipo, I know he's not in Miami, but like his trainer's in Miami, and we saw the body transformation from him between his year in OKC and then his first year with Indy. Like and Dion Waiters, James Johnson, granted those two were finesse. Don't get me started, but I think at least year one of the deal is going to be fine. I think I think it was Kenneth who said it. It's all going to be based off of what is year three on that deal. I'm going to hope it's a team option just for the sake of being a Heat fan.
McDermott to San Antonio. There it is.
What happened?
Doug
McDermott.
McDermott, 3 for 42 with San Antonio.
Ooh, Dougie Buckets.
Another shooter gets paid.
Well, but honestly, though, is $14 million a year for a shooter on the wing really that expensive?
That's a good deal for Doug. That's a good deal.
Yeah,
That's
for
a lot of
$14
money coming off the
million a year, that's
bench,
not
though.
really a lot of money.
I was just saying, generally speaking, like shooting continues to get paid. Like, I think we're all always going to say this on our podcast from now on, whenever we talk ball. Like, just learn how to shoot the basketball at a high level.
And
Like,
you can
just
get
learn
paid.
how to do that, and
It
you're
won't
gonna
help you
you're
in the
gonna-
Olympics, though. It won't help you in the Olympics.
Well,
That's all right.
Help you in the pros, though. That's where you get paid.
That's where you get paid. You don't get paid in the Olympics.
The highest
really
paid
don't.
players don't even go play in the Olympics. So there
Right.
you go.
because
Three for 42. That's a pretty strong deal for a team that needs wings and needs shooters.
Yeah,
So-
and he's another vet too for this team, which helps. He's been in the league for a little bit now, so
Yeah, but he'll come down and I don't know. It's going to be a tough year. I mean, they're going to be bad.
sure.
So it's apparently under the Duncan deal. It's a early. I'm assuming the T in this stands for termination.
Termination,
Early,
yeah.
early termination option after the fourth year, which kind of not surprised. That's usually how these 5-year deals go when it comes to that.
Yeah.
I mean, which is good too, because I mean, if you look at his age, by the time that 5th year is done, you might start seeing a little bit of decline, obviously. So it's
Right.
smart that Miami has at least somewhat of a fail-safe built in.
Yeah, shooting like the thing is shooting like
Chris
does it
Paul,
really, can it
4
age
years,
bad?
120 back to Phoenix.
That's a steal.
Ooh.
That's a steal.
Chris
4
Paul
years,
back to the Phoenix Suns.
Run it back.
Run
4
it back.
years.
4 years, $120 million. He is back with the Phoenix Suns. So they're running it back. I thought that was the right move. I thought they needed to, run it back, see how you can do it. And like we mentioned before, we're like, they kind of had to do this. Like, were they going to really like let him go and then, just be cool with, getting whatever type of point guard? This was a move that they had to make. And, I'm sure Booker's happy, and then they run it back and see what happens. But good
Get
move.
another year for development for DeAndre Ayton with a point guard that's going to set him up.
Exactly. I'm sure DeAndre Ayton is very happy with CP3 coming back because he benefited a lot.
Mhm.
He was probably the biggest beneficiary of CP3 going there, and I think most of us saw that too. Like when CP3 went to Phoenix, it's like, okay, Booker's already established, but he can learn from CP3, the other guys. But it was like DeAndre Ayton might unleash, and we saw that unleash. We saw in the playoffs he was tremendous, and I think this is going to continue his growth as a player, DeAndre Ayton. So I think it's a great move for Phoenix to bring it back. They got campaign, so obviously they were this close from being world champions. So they're going to try to, bring it back and run it back and see what they can do. But Chris Paul is back
We'll see if they can pick up some guys on the cheap, like maybe bring in another big man. Dario Saric got hurt. Maybe they bring in some depth there, and maybe another wing. That's what they should be targeting. I mean, if you look at some of the guys who might be available free agency that you can get on the cheap, maybe Paul Millsap's a guy that no one's really talking about a lot. Maybe he can end up being there. DeMarcus Cousins, another guy. Dwight Howard. I mean, just looking at guys that might play for cheap to go on that team.
Gorgie Jiang, is he a free agent?
Yep, Gorgie Jiang is one.
Hey guys, let's leave these Laker vet minimums alone, hey? Like we only have so much space, and
yeah, I mean, y'all do have to sign everybody.
I've seen Dwight to LA. Like Dwight to LA again is a possibility. That would
Carmelo and Dwight are the big LA names that have been floating.
The betting lines have moved to 1.5 in my books as far as Laker vet minimums tonight. So we'll see how that goes.
Oh, tonight, yeah. Like probably over the course of the week, they're gonna get a few.
It'll be the coming days after they are done trying to convince like 10 guys to take a vet minimum that don't want to.
So do you think? I'm assuming Ken, if like THT is probably gone, right? Because I feel like someone's gonna offer him like $9 million a season.
No, they've said the Lakers. I saw something today that said the Lakers are matching anything.
Really?
Or matching anything that he gets, because I remember like quote tweeting it or whatever, and like somebody, please, dear God, go offer him the max.
They put that out, then someone's gonna call their bluff. Like that's what's gonna happen.
Dave McMenamin said the Lakers will match any offer sheet for THT.
I would call their bluff. I would call it.
Good luck.
Good luck.
There's only so much room. Like
right.
That's the thing. They're already like past the like
like if a team
right now
throws
with 5 guys on the team.
at them, if a team throws 10 million at them, then like they can't do that.
Is it? Hold on, no, probably not. I was gonna say, because I was talking about this with a couple of friends of mine, like after the Westbrook deal had dropped, like in some weird, because I feel like with the LA teams in sports nowadays, the salary cap just doesn't matter. I.e., Dodgers in Major League Baseball. Granted, there's no real cap in Major League Baseball, but like. When it comes to the Lakers, like, is there not a way they could somehow finagle the cap to like sign and trade Schroeder and Taylor Horton Tucker to the Kings and still get a Bradley Beal or like just some kind of shooter? Like,
you mean Buddy Hield?
Yeah, I keep confusing them. Jesus, but no, that's really how I keep thinking, because I don't know. They just need shooting. Like maybe Kenneth, I think he probably is gone regularly, but like, could a Dennis Schroeder sign and trade still happen? Maybe not Sacramento, obviously, but just to get like a shooter or two from someone, because. I think, like, Dennis Schroeder, for everything we're talking about, like, he has some value. Like, we can't say there's no such thing as a player with no value in the league nowadays. But if John Wall and Russell Westbrook and those kinds of contracts have been moved and signed, like, someone will take a Dennis Schroeder for $18 million a year.
Yeah.
Right. No, he still has value, Schroeder. Like, I just... Not as much as he probably thought he was going to get. Like, we heard that he turned down, 4 years before?
I don't think he's a starting quarterback. Wow, starting point guard. Like, I just don't think that he is. Like,
I don't think he's a starting quarterback either.
He's probably not a
You're
starting
right.
quarterback.
You're absolutely right.
I mean, New Orleans
starting point guard on a kind of mid
team.
to lower, right? But I mean, he's like, there's 30 teams. Someone needs a starting point guard.
And that's why we hate it, because we know someone's going to come in. Probably
it's going to
from
happen.
the bottom teams that's going to offer him a crazy number because of his OKC days. It better not be based off of his Lakers playoff performances, but
he's got to play somewhere, though. That's the thing. Like, we can poke fun and say, oh, like a bad team's going to get him, but like there's 30 spots.
He shouldn't be out of the league.
Not worth.
We're not saying that.
No, I know. I'm just saying, like, he is the starting point guard, though. Like he will start somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think his best value is being the second unit guy.
That's the team's best value. That's a team's best
exactly.
value.
The team's best value is there, but he'll get paid to go and be a starter somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, I hope the Knicks don't get him, but like there's gonna be a team out there, because look, you got a team like Charlotte who legitimately has 2 or 3 options that could start in the NBA as well. So they're going to be in play for a trade. So with that being looked at, there's an opening somewhere for him to start somewhere in the NBA.
Yeah.
And I wonder what do you guys have a team in mind that you think will swoop up and give Schroeder? Do you think
what about New Orleans?
New Orleans. I was just about to say New Orleans. They need scoring too. Like, they definitely need scoring. They got to figure that out. So, and ding, where did that ding come from?
I don't know.
A random ding.
Doorbell.
Me, Kenneth,
Wasn't it me?
and Stephen were all just like,
I think I got to order some. Let me see.
I'm actually about to order something while we're doing this. I'm gonna order some saw. Y'all want anything?
Yeah.
what?
I don't think he'll deliver.
According to Michael Grange, Goran Dragic's first choice would be rerouted to Dallas.
I mean, that makes sense. The
sense, yeah.
Slovenian connection. I mean, that's
So no details yet on who's going in this sign and trade.
It's gonna be Goran, Precious. Yeah, Goran, Precious, at least 1 or 2 seconds, depending on however many Miami has.
Do you think Toronto gets a first, or are they not entertaining?
No, the thing is, Miami doesn't have their own first round pick until 2028, unless they ask OKC to lift a protection on one of the current ones. But then they would give OKC the 2027 first round pick.
They're all in on the roster.
Can I have like a Mo type rant for one quick minute here?
Go for it.
Like
no
everyone,
one can have a Mo type rant, but go ahead.
That's true. Like everyone talking all this garbage about Miami and how they didn't want to make the deal for James Harden. Like, can we finally understand this team didn't have any of the first round picks to send in that deal? Like, that is something that has been annoying me this entire time. We're never going to get James Harden by being like, hey, do you want our 2029 and 2030 and 2031 round pick? Like, come on, they're not going to do that. They're not going to. I don't even think they're allowed to trade like a decade from now.
It's about the future, Jerk. It's about the
Sam
future.
Presti would have accepted that deal.
Yeah,
this
he
was
would have been
Oklahoma
like,
City, James
sign me up. I'm in.
Exactly.
Does that stop you from offering though? Does that stop you? Does that stop you from making an offer though?
But they don't have the assets. But no, here's the thing. This is why I'm interested, because I'm a big Le Batard show guy. You guys know this because I've mentioned in the chat before. I was listening, I think it was like a week ago, Le Batard was talking about this because he's known Pat Riley for decades, and he talks to people in the front office. From everything, because he apparently had discussions with Heat officials recently, apparently Tyler Hero, like not just with James Harden, like just in general, no one in that organization, like there was never a plan to trade Tyler Hero this season, despite the backlash from media, fans, and all that. There was never real conversation to trade him. So, and with Le Batard's connections to the Heat, I'm willing to believe it, but also the fact that I'm really starting to think, like, was the Miami thing, like, because we've seen the Knicks, Lakers, Heat, Clippers, Celtics, they're getting connected to like 75 free agents so far in this offseason. It feels like was that almost just a thing someone made up? Because I'm going to take Dan Le Batard's word over any other media personality's word when it comes to the Miami Heat. So if what he's saying is that Miami didn't, like, not that they didn't pick up the Harden call, you pick up that call, obviously, but the fact that they didn't entertain it the way people are trying to say, I'm really starting to think about that. Like, all right, I guess Hero's definitely going to stay. Like, that's almost a guarantee at this point. Like, I'm just saying, like, I don't think the trade talks were as serious as people wanted to make it. But when you hear that Jimmy Butler wanted Harden, or like he's like some kind of connection with Harden, then everyone puts all the pressure on them. Like, well, why didn't you go for the deal? So that's my thing with it. Like, I just want to look back at that and be like,
you hear that, Mo? You hear that, Mo? You hear that, Mo? Because Mo's been on that Harden. Why they trade that for James Harden? But no, you're right. You're right. So
can we talk too about the way that money has changed a lot in the NBA? Because I'm scrolling through my timeline and I'm seeing people that are like, I can't believe Doug McDermott got $14 million a year. Or I can't believe
people don't get it, man. They just don't.
People think, like, when we were growing up, right, guys, when we were starting to want like $20 million, like that was about max money. You know, like only the biggest names in the NBA were drawing about $20 million a year, and it's obviously not that anymore. We see guys. James Harden was offered an extension to be paid $50 million a year annually before he ended up leaving Houston. So, like, this isn't your uncle's or maybe your dad's $20 million in the free agency anymore.
Yeah, but like we mentioned before, like, it's not the same as it was, in years past. Like, $20 million is just like the new $10 million. You know, it's just the value is different as we've seen the cap go up and all that. Like, it's just not the same. Like, so people still have that mindset that 20 million. Oh my God, how can you give 20? There's guys that are making close to 50 and $40 million. Like Chris Paul is making 40. So like $20 million, like when you do that, it's like, well, that's actually for Alonzo Ball, it's like that's actually to pay half of what you're getting for CP3. That's not a bad deal. So like
20 is essentially base starter money now, and if you can get a starter for less than that, that's a steal. Like unless a guy completely bombs, like a $15 million a year average isn't a bad contract anymore for a good starter. It's just not. So that's the thing. It's the natural progression of things in sports when we talk about all these off the court, because we talk about the on court progression, like today's athletes are bigger, faster, stronger. Well, let's also talk about off the court, like the television money that comes into every single sport nowadays. It is massive amounts of money. Check back in a few years of what the SEC is going to get in television rights deals. The fact that they're adding Texas and Oklahoma with still having Bama, LSU. Like, it's just all this off the court stuff. It's kind of like with trades, and how the trade market in the NBA has completely evolved the last couple of seasons, because the Drew Holiday deal is going to be like the patient zero deal of what trades look like for superstars going forward. Now, how many of them are we going to see going from this point on? Very dependent, but like that's the baseline. That's why when we hear that Portland, if they were to consider trading Dame, like how much they would want, or Washington with Beal, or Philly with Simmons, again, I think there was another update about like what Philly's looking for in a trade package with Simmons. That's how it works now. Everything progresses. It doesn't stay the same forever. It just doesn't. So that's the way I see it when it comes to money trades and everything.
Chris clearly sad that Lonzo Ball didn't end up with the Knicks, so this is a safe space if you want to talk about it.
Yeah, man, that one hurt. That one definitely hurt. I definitely wanted the fit to me made so much sense. Needing, having a guy like Lonzo who could push the ball up the court, helped his team in transition with guys like Obi Toppin and RJ Barrett, Mitchell Robinson. I thought it would have been a great fit for the Knicks, but he's going to Chicago, and I don't know what this means, because we still don't have a point guard on this roster, other than the young guys. So I'm interested to see what they're doing. So I don't know if they're going to try to make a big move, a trade, and get their guard, but
definitely,
all the point guards are gone. So
crossing your fingers, it's not Schroeder, right?
So Jerg, I got a question about your Heat.
Mm-hmm.
Victor Oladipo is on an expiring contract. Do they have bird rights on him? Can they?
Lowry 3 for 90.
3 for 90 for Lowry.
That's a lot. I mean, he's getting paid almost the same amount of money as Chris Paul right now.
And he's not Chris Paul. That's wild, but hey, Miami's going all in,
Jerg is screaming right now. So Jerg,
how do you feel about where's Mo?
Out.
Somebody get Mo.
Can y'all sign and trade? Can y'all sign and trade Oladipo?
That's a good question. Honestly, I'm kind of considering everything right now. I'm just trying to put it through my brain, because I heard your question about like, do we have bird rights? Does a player always retain bird rights every single time they're traded? Because if that's the case, then I think technically yes, because Indiana,
it depends on how many years that he was signed for underneath the previous team. I know that. I think you have to have 3 consecutive years under the team.
Then 3 years.
Then it was because his deal with the Pacers, was it not a 5-year, $80 million type deal or something like that, or like 4 years, 6, 7? Like his original extension, because it was his rookie deal, then the extension that he just finished up this past season. Like whatever it was, he was definitely on the Pacers for at least 3 seasons. Like that. That's a guarantee, because at least 17, 18, he was there, 18, 19, 19, 20, and then he was there this season, then traded to Miami. So I guess technically he does have bird rights. But I don't think, if he's coming back to Miami, the most he gets is probably a 1-year deal. I don't even think he would get a full mid-level exception at this point. He would probably get something a little bit below that, like a 1-year, $7 million type deal. I think that's the most realistic. Like, this is a guy who, when he came back from the injury with Indiana, it just wasn't looking good. Like, to start the season, he had his moments, as well as being in Houston for a bit, didn't show a lot. And then in Miami, he didn't get to do literally anything because he got hurt again. So it's very 50-50 with him at the end of the day. But to sign and trade him, I don't know. I wish at this point, if we don't try to sign and trade him, I think we're going to lose Kendrick Nunn. I almost think it's a given, unless the Harrison family wants to dive into the luxury tax and say okay, it's fine to you could keep Kendrick Nunn at this point. But Jesus, $30 million a year for Kyle Lowry.
Oladipo hasn't played 40 games since the 17-18 year.
Talk about a guy who lost out on a max deal. He was definitely going to get a max. He was on that pace trajectory to get a max deal, and now he's all the injuries have definitely derailed that. So it's crazy.
Yeah, approximately $90 million. I mean, seriously, look at what did Chris Paul make? He I think he might be getting like $3 more million. That's insane.
Yeah.
I'm
Also
gonna try to
depends
pull it up.
on whether they have that team option or not.
It really, yeah. At this point, it really does for a lot of these deals with these vets.
It's ugly if it's 3 years straight up. I think it's okay if it's team option, because then if it is the decline that Steven thinks that it is, then you're at least out.
You
from
can get out
under
of it,
in
yeah.
2 years.
Which I think, like,
Yeah, you're looking at about average salary for Chris Paul is about $30 million too.
Yeah.
He signed
They're both-
4 years, 120.
yeah, they're both $30 million a year. Chris Paul and Kyle Lowry. One of them led a team to the NBA Finals last season.
And one of them,
And one of them
is a champion. Yeah, one of them's a champion. So.
Yeah. Did he send Kawhi Leonard the thank you for that? Did he send him a thank you note and flowers? Because like, let's be real here, Kawhi Leonard made Kyle Lowry a champion. Like, we ain't no one gonna argue that.
No, not at all.
There are real people on the Spurs portion of Twitter that think the Doug McDermott thing is like the worst thing to ever happen to him.
That doesn't make any sense to me.
No, it doesn't to me either.
They've never. Jeez. Oh Lord.
Like, I mean, you just signed a starting 3, or maybe even a bench 3 for $14 million a year.
Yeah.
And if he shoots the same 3, or if he shoots the same percentage from 3 that he did last year, he's the best shooter on your team.
You'll take that, by the way. Like, as long as the 3-point shooting doesn't go down, you'll accept it.
Right.
Yeah, there's a lot of Knicks fans that aren't happy right now. The Nerlens Noel deal was 3 years, 32, and Burks 3 for 30.
Like a lot for Nerlens, but that's also, I guess, that's relative. Like, again, we've talked about this a lot, but like, just how money isn't the same anymore, and like, 10 million isn't what 10 million used to be.
Yeah, I think people are tripping about that. I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, he's a backup center. Like, I mean, yeah, it may be a little bit, but he did have a solid season, and so I'm not going to trip too much over that. It's
Jurg said earlier too, right? You got to spend that money somewhere, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, my thing is this, Chris. I think you'll agree. Like, the Knicks cannot bring back this same roster or have lost 1 or 2 pieces and expect to advance in the playoffs. That's just not going to happen. Like, they need to do something with free agency here. And even if it is ultimately bringing back, like, at least bringing back Burks and Noel, I can understand. Again, kind of like Walker brings the point back up again. Like, $10 million is high quality bench player money now. That's just how it is. Like,
I think people need to realize that, though. That's the problem, is that I think people
That's a mid-level exception.
Sterling Brown to the Mavs.
Yeah, there's a lot of
Erson. Erson just wrote an article about him going to the Knicks, and
someone in the Mavericks picked up Erson's article. Confirmed.
Yeah. But we had heard, and because me and Erson were talking about Sterling Brown, and we had we had known that Dallas was very interested in Sterling Brown, but that would have been a nice underrated pickup for the Knicks, especially with with the Bullock possibly leaving. So, but Sterling Brown will be going to Dallas Mavericks. The 1-2 punch with Luka. So it's a great move. Now they got that big too.
Yeah.
Apparently, I don't know how valid this guy is. Mark Berman from the New York Post. Someone shared it in the chat. It said that while other guards are on the board, Derrick Rose will likely work out a deal with the Knicks.
I mean, it makes sense. He's got that loyalty to Tibbs. They gave him a chance to, come and, continue the progress that he started to show in Minnesota whenever he started shining again under Tibbs, right? So, I mean, it makes a lot of sense.
Y'all want a quick, kind of mind-blowing fact? When Chris Paul finishes at 40, he will have made more than $446 million from all of his NBA contracts. No sponsorship money in that. No sponsorship money in that. Just NBA contracts.
Jesus. That's crazy.
Fixing to get back out in the driveway.
That's a good payday, man. I mean, that's almost $500 million in NBA contract. Like you said, it's not even including the State Farm stuff he does, and which he's probably getting the bag for that too. So I wonder how much Cliff Paul gets. What do you think Cliff Paul gets in endorsements?
Cliff Paul.
Cliff. I don't know what Cliff gets.
I mean, if that's his one endorsement, he could probably get a little bit more out of State Farm. He probably juices them for a little bit more.
Yeah, it definitely does. So we got to look into that. We got to look into Cliff Paul's salary.
I really hope Tibbs goes back to 2011 and signs Derrick Rose to a $25 million a year
All
contract.
right.
The
Don't get
biggest
on.
question is Taj Gibson coming back?
No, I don't think that's gonna happen.
Taj
gotta keep
Gibson
your
is the
OGs
free
around.
agent to look for.
You can't bring everyone back. you can't bring everyone back.
Kenneth, Lakers, Taj Gibson. Come on, you need that Jared Dudley replacement.
You got to get the OG. You need the OG.
No.
Oh yeah, Taj Gibson's 10,000% on the Lakers next year.
He might be starting.
You-
I think go get JaVale McGee. He's gonna be an Olympian. He's an Olympian.
Oh my lord. Oh my lord. In my lifetime, JaVale McGee became an Olympic basketball player.
All
That's
right, so
crazy.
things have kind of slowed down right now. I'm sure the minute we get into detail about something.
Let's talk about
we'll just
something. That way,
I just
That,
see I got 3
let's
noties
talk about
right
something,
now,
and
so-
then DeRozan will sign.
DeRozan, like we still have some high quality free agents, like DeRozan still all
Do you believe
available.
the Kawhi is going to entertain other teams' noise, or do you think that's just kind of like drumming up, like trying to motivate LA to get to the table and just get this thing done?
It's
could
motivation. I think it's
Yeah.
motivation.
I know. Looking at guys that are on the board right now, I mean, we already talked about DeMar. We've beat Dennis Schroeder over the head. What about guys like Norman Powell? Do you think that Portland's going to try to keep him, or do you think that a team's in play to try to get Norman Powell?
Gary Trent Jr. too. Like those are two good, Powell and well, they were traded for each other too. So those
Right.
are two guys that I'm high on Gary Trent, and I like
Gary
Powell
Trent.
too. I think Gary Trent is not to say he's going to be Chris Middleton, but he's
Portland
in that
continues to
mold.
take an L.
Yeah, like hey, they do. A second round guy that's under the radar goes to a team and then excels. I think that could be Gary Trent. I love his game a lot. Maybe I'm just overvaluing, but I think he could be in that mold where he could continue to get better as a scorer and all that. And
Yeah.
he's had some massive games, especially once
He's
he
got
went
to be
to.
getting paid between 14 and 19 million based on the market
Yeah.
right now, right? We just saw,
Yes.
McDermott get about 14 a year and Duncan Robinson getting about 19. So you got to think somewhere between there is what he should be expecting to get. And I think that he's got more upside, so
Yes, I think that's another thing too, is the upside. Like we talked about the Fournier stuff, and especially with the Knicks and some other teams. Like, why wouldn't you give the money to a Gary Trent, where you're gonna get production?
Jeff Green just signed with Denver for 2 for $10 with a player option on the
Jeff
second.
Green, nice.
Jeff Green.
They got
Let's go.
Jeff and Jamichael.
Jeff and Jamichael.
If only they traded up for Jalen in the draft.
Well, you know that Denver's going to be in the playoffs now. Every team that Jeff Green goes to is just go ahead and book it.
They're
Denver's
going
in
to the
playoffs next
They're
year.
going to the conference finals now. What you mean?
at least the playoffs next year. He only plays for playoff teams. He's like Jay Crowder now. Well, Jay Crowder's more like him.
He's forever that key piece that if he's on a bad team, a contender trades for at the deadline.
Yep.
Let's see.
5 years, $5 million a year, dude. Come on.
That's a steal.
Go ahead, Denver. Go ahead.
I swear he's not.
Alex Caruso is an unrestricted free agent.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was
He
a
met with
second
Phoenix.
rounder.
Or he was talking to Phoenix. Like Phoenix was in the mix there.
Yeah,
I don't think that he goes to Phoenix now.
yeah. Now with CP3 and campaign, I think Caruso was just an insurance policy in case campaign.
You think
was-
Caruso goes for a 1-for-1 with LA? You think there's any sort of like, you know what?
like 1 year, 1 mil?
Yeah, like 1 year vet minimum with a player option for the second year.
I mean, I guess like that could just be an option just to have another ball handler there.
What about?
I'm sure LeBron James would pay him,
Or Loki on the side. Well,
on
honestly,
the side.
I learned this from an interview the Levitard show did because they had just recently interviewed a reporter that wrote a book about Kyrie and KD, like from the background to what eventually led to their team up to I think like the bubble or maybe like just at some point during this past season in Brooklyn. And apparently NBA teams like they give this predominantly to their stars, but like they give their star players money on the side for like other things, like if they need housing for like their like the player's family or friends to stay at like during the season, or like in the case with some of these superstar players like women, like if they need money for stuff like that, they give these guys cash on the side. Like that's a real thing. Like I'm not saying it with the same kind of like expertise that this was said. I'd have to go back and like
Sure.
re-listen to some of the interview, but it was just really interesting to hear like, oh, like this sounds like some sort of salary cap circumvention here. Like the teams are just allowed to kind of help their guys on the side here. Like this is a wild thing. It was I wish I knew the name of the book too. Like I feel bad right now, but like it was a book recently about like Katie and Kyrie and like the whole shebang with them coming to Brooklyn and how it's gone so far. So.
Well, speaking of Brooklyn, there was rumors earlier today. I don't know if you guys saw it, where they might be working a deal for Spencer Dinwiddie to Washington in exchange for Kuzma and Montrezl Harrell. I was hearing that on XM Radio a lot today. That would be scary for
what a feather in the cap it would be for Kyrie. Like, hey, LeBron, I'm going to win a chip with Trez on my team, and I'm going to give Kuzma number 2. Kyrie would enjoy that very much.
That would be, that would be unfair. And plus, I mean, Washington too. If you look at the deal, that wouldn't be a bad, player to get back to run with the team.
Right. Yeah, I mean, honestly, that. Like, it should behoove Washington to get rid of Kuzma, no? Because Kuzma, if he's your 3 or your 4, you're taking time away from either Denny or Rui Hachimura. And Rui plays better at the 4.
2 for 9 with the Kings.
Who's
Mo
that?
Harkless?
Mo Harkless.
Yeah, Mo Harkless just got 3 for 9 to go to Sacramento.
3 for 9? 2 for 9.
2 for 9, apologies. 2 for 9.
I mean, not bad.
He's a solid wing.
St. John's legend.
I think that he played there before, if I'm not mistaken.
He may have.
Where hasn't he played?
That's also.
He's been around the world. He's been around the world.
I could be wrong. I think he was traded there this past year for Bielitsa in the Heat deal. So
Yep.
Yeah, because he went to Miami. I know he was on the Knicks. Where did Knicks get him? I forgot. Clippers. Yeah, they that was in the Marcus Morris trade. Yeah.
Shout out to Malika Andrews getting involved in the trade buzz when she made that report for Jeff Green going to Denver. Shout out to Malika.
She's the GOAT.
Yeah,
Sacramento.
Quickly becoming one of my favorites.
She's becoming a star. A lot of people are becoming stars in this past cycle, and I'm all for it. I love it.
Yeah. Absolutely. So we talked about Norman Powell. We talked about Spencer Dinwiddie. What about Rashawn Holmes? I think that he's a really undervalued center in the NBA.
Yeah, Rashawn Holmes is. I was hearing 3 for 60. Going back to Sacramento. That's what I was hearing all day today with him. But he's a solid big.
The Mavericks are nearing a deal with free agent Reggie Bullock.
Okay.
So Reggie will be going to the Dallas Mavericks.
I'll tell you what, man. The Knicks are having a D- day.
Yeah, let's not get into that.
I don't know if it's going to be D-. I don't know if it's D- right now. I mean, it's
too early. They just haven't done anything.
Yeah.
They're just working on keeping their guys in house at this point. So
Sterling Brown was 2 for 6. If New York could have done 2 for 7, I would have been like, all right, I'm all here for that.
Yeah.
That would have made a lot of sense.
2 for 6 for Sterling. That's not bad.
That's 2 for 6.2 if you want to be exact.
Oh, okay. Well, that changes everything.
Yeah, the 0.2.
that extra $200,000, Kenneth's not a fan of that.
No, it's too much. Just can't make it happen.
Do you think Laurie marketing, anything happens with him? I know he's restricted.
I think you got to keep, like I said, that's why I think Laurie and DeRozan, I think their markets may be tied together because a sign and trade may happen there, and that may be teams working things out, and that'll take more time than a player just agreeing to a deal.
Right.
So. Apparently, Boban Marjanovic from Dallas, his new deal is going to be, it looks like for 1 year. That's from Tim McMahon, who's pretty close with that team. So
yeah,
it looks like 1 year deal for old Bobby.
Keep that team chemistry up there.
Yeah, everyone needs a cheerleader,
He's a fan favorite.
Oh, yeah.
That's a big cheerleader too.
That's a big one. He's in John Wick too.
Yeah. Well, I think it was John Wick 3.
Yeah, he was in John Wick 3. Yeah, the third one.
I guarantee you, Luka would have been mad at the organization if they had let Boban go. I guarantee you, he would have been mad about it.
Tobias Harris is still upset that he's not in Philly. I mean, the Clippers no more. They were in the Clippers together, and he got traded.
He's clearly not pushing hard enough in Philly to get his guy. Clearly not pushing hard enough.
No, you got to get your guys. I think everyone loves Boban. That's the thing. Like, he's just one of those guys that just is a glue guy. Like, you just need a guy like that. Like, and when he plays, he gives you solid minutes.
I mean, you're really going to argue about the teams, what, the 12th to 15th man on their roster? You know, I mean,
You'd be surprised.
You'd be surprised. People
I
complain.
wouldn't be, but that's why I'm bringing it up.
Steven, you know how
like,
many Heat
chill
fans
out.
have you know how many Heat fans have been so mad the last like 5 seasons that UD has still been on the team?
I don't know why. He's Mr. Miami.
He literally is. People don't understand his connection to that city runs deep. Like at the very beginning
He's
of the whole
from Miami. He's
Yeah.
from Miami. Yeah.
He's from Miami.
3 for 15 to remain with the Rockets.
Who's that?
David Nwaba.
That's a good
Okay.
pick. That's solid. That's solid.
I just wish that he would get more burn wherever he goes, man. I like Nwaba.
Reggie Bullock has officially agreed to a deal with the Mavs. Not nearing anymore. He's officially agreed to a deal with the Mavs.
Okay. So Reggie is no longer a Knick.
Dude, it's
Like-
been a rough 10 minutes for Urson. All of a Sterling Brown's gone, and then he's like, then we'll just re-sign Bullock, and then 2 minutes later, Bullock's on the Mavs.
Teams are just
10 minutes.
Sorry,
Don't say
Urson.
anything
I
about
know
Julius
Urson.
Randle.
I know Urson. He's sleeping right now, so he does. Because he's from Amsterdam, so he's 6 hours ahead. But yeah,
David
tough-
Nwaba is
Still
making the
late.
same amount of money as Jeff Green.
Did the details come out for Reggie Bullock as far as money wise, or it's
McMahon will have them, though, when they come out, I'd imagine.
I'm curious why it's taking them so long to throw the Lowry sign and trade down.
It's circulating.
They could, and you could finally be. I mean, they
but
could.
but there
working
could
on
be
Lowry.
something else in the works if they haven't released it yet.
I think it's just like with stuff like this, it just ultimately comes down to like finite details with everything. Like Miami's probably trying to talk to Lowry's or I was about to say organization, dear Lord, representation about
there
like
you go.
team or player option for like that third and final season, because I'm sure Lowry would push for a player option in year 3. Toronto's probably trying to see if they could find like I said, if a first round pick is involved in this deal, Miami would need to contact Oklahoma City. Oklahoma City would need to give permission to lift a protection on a.
But that's
either
what I mean. Like that's why there
2023
could
pick?
be like they're still ironing
Yeah.
out. There could be more to it just because.
Oh yeah, it's just details. Yeah,
like
Danny
the
Green
Lonzo
might
side,
be interested in coming back to the Lakers.
I've
the
seen that.
Lonzo
That
side
makes
was
sense.
like, okay, this is the deal, and then it was like 20 minutes later, this is what it is. So
Yeah.
I'm just curious if there's anything additional on top of it that could be happening.
Yeah, probably.
the Heat have shown interest in Bobby Portis, but he's looking for more than $9 million a year, which is the mid
He's
level.
shown interest in every player on God's green earth.
Like I said before, I'm convinced the media is just putting Miami in some of these. I don't think they're literally talking to everybody.
I don't know, dude. They got swept in the playoffs, and usually when that happens, Mr. Pat Riley isn't a happy guy.
Yeah, he goes for, but he's not going for every single player under God's green earth.
He's definitely going for it. He's definitely going for it. How
I
would
think
you
the
rate
Bulls
Jared,
and? Oh, go ahead.
Jared, how would you rate so far Miami's day so far?
I don't know.
D minus.
Not a D minus. No, I'm not getting that
D-minus?
shirt for my team. No.
That's gonna be the newest shirt for Off the Ball.
It
Off the Ball
really
D-minus.
should. It really should. Duncan, the 5 years, 90 mil. Kyle Lowry, 3 years, 30 mil. Precious gonna be gone. Dragic is gone. I will say, you know what? This is lower than any grade I ever got in college, but I'll give it like a B for now. Like I'll wait for the trade details when it comes to the Lowry stuff. Like I need to give myself like a good 12 to 24 hours to like really digest all the information here. Like my thing with Miami is like what's going to happen now, because I think Kendrick Nunn is definitely gone. I think this almost guarantees it. Now, can they find a way to get a sign and trade with a team? Maybe get back some second round picks in a deal, or like some low contract player that's on a team somewhere. Like I hope at this point that's what Pat Riley's trying to do, because you can't lose him for nothing. Now you will if someone offers him. Like if someone offers Nunn, they're letting him go. They're not matching it at all. But I just hope that they find a way to do something there. Aside from him, you declined Iguodala's team option. I can't think of anyone else off the top of my head that was like a big piece in the rotation, like from this past year. That's a free agent. Like again, what are you going to do with Victor Oladipo? We brought up that question before with Steven. I think like I'll give it a solid B minus for now. I'll say B minus for now, and let's wait. Let's see what happens, and if they can figure out the rest of this, like it'll probably go up from there. Like it's
What
all.
if they can get an Oladipo sign and trade done where they attach Tyler Hero for a couple of players that like maybe not a star, but maybe like multiple kind of like middling contracts.
I don't know. I'm gonna run with what with what Dan Levitard said, and that Pat Riley has zero interest in trading Tyler Hero because Pat Riley and Andy Ellisberg, they believe in what Tyler Hero's ceiling could be. Like, here's the thing: Tyler Hero, his points per game, rebounds per game, assists per game went up this past season. But like the bad thing is that he had stretches of really bad play, and when Kendrick Perkins of all people tries to say you could be an all-star in year 2, thanks Perk. Carry on with that take, why don't you? Like that doesn't help.
Milwaukee.
Bobby Portis re-samp, 2 years deal.
Furkan Korkmaz back to the Sixers.
Oh, nice. Yeah, they needed to do that. They need to keep their shooting.
The Heat are still trying to acquire DeMar DeRozan, but it would likely take a significant reduction in salary compared to what he can get elsewhere.
Yeah.
But they have the key thing is they got one of his good buddies on the team, so that's something to keep an eye on.
Is that not his best friend? Like, aren't they the godfathers to each other's like kids or something?
Yeah, I believe so.
They're really,
yeah.
really close.
It's deep.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it runs deep.
Someone tweeted like 5 minutes ago that Bobby Portis told Miami that he wanted more than the $9.5 million mid-level exception in order to sign there, and then he took $4.5 million a year to go back to Milwaukee.
Oh, that's funny. That is funny.
I'm sure it's a 1-and-1 for him. It's probably a 1-and-1 for him.
Yeah,
I mean, that's
second
where-
year is a player option. That's what.
Either way, he said he wanted more than a $9.5 million AAV, and even if it's a 1-and-1, like, I mean, the total value of the deal is $9 million.
This is the second straight offseason he's done that, and he just said in an interview a couple days ago, like
Gary Trent Jr. 3 for 54 back with Toronto.
Okay.
There you
That's
go.
outstanding.
Good job, Toronto. Good job.
Steal, Toronto.
Steal.
How much?
Steal.
4
3
years.
for 54.
3 for
3
54.
for
18. You do that all
Such
day.
a good deal. Oh
You
my
do that all day.
God. That is a great deal.
Do we give the Knicks a D- yet?
Oh my God, that is a good deal.
Could
I
they?
give them a
Warren
solid
Powell's
C.
gonna be similar.
I give them a solid C right now.
I'm about to head out here, but I want to get like one last take from you guys because I have a lot of friends who are Knicks fans, and they've kind of floated out these two players, or at least they're not going to get both of them, but maybe at least one of them. But like, what would your guys' perception be if the Knicks try to go for at shooting guard because they've lost Reggie? We don't know what's going to happen with Fournier, so I don't know. Like, ignoring Fournier for a second, should the Knicks go after either Devontae Graham or Malik Monk? Like, how would that fit be with the Knicks roster?
I'd probably not.
Grant, yeah, I mean, Grant can provide some.
I mean, you still have Emmanuel Quickly on the team, so I don't know if that's a huge blow to the backcourt. Like, to me, I think it would have to be an upgrade, right? Like, I don't think that you go and get like another like Reggie Bullock type player, and Monk has a lot to prove still. Like, Charlotte gave him all the opportunity in the world, and he just kept falling back and back and back, right? So I don't know if Tibbs is going to have the patience, right, to coach a Malik Monk on this team. I think if you look at guys who might be available at this position, like I might pay like Nick Batum to come be on that team. You know, like that might be a guy that you go for. Maybe a Danny Green. Josh Hart's available, probably at the right price. Josh Hart would actually be a decent one up in New York as well. So
I forgot about Josh Hart.
The thing with Devontae
Bruce
Graham
Brown?
is Bruce Brown would be a solid because he could do a little bit of everything. But like with Devontae Graham, his thing is his inefficiency. I mean,
Right.
he's super inefficient. Like
he's a
he
good
shoots
3-point shooter. That's about it.
That's it. Yeah, he
He's a
shoots
good
around
passer.
38%, and it's like, is Tibbs going to be
That's
cool
all
with
from
it?
3.
Yeah,
That's all. From
and that's all
three.
he does is shoot threes. You know,
Yeah.
so it's like, is he going to be like he's a good 3-point shooter, but he's just terribly inefficient. But I mean, it all depends on the price too. Like, you know, but
I would
you
love
know.
to see them go after a Josh Hart.
he's another one that's criminally underrated in this
Yeah.
whole
Dude
process.
had like I think 8 rebounds a game as
yeah,
a
he was
guard.
like 7, 8 a game. And he had like a one game where he had like 20 rebounds, something like that.
He's such a very underrated shooting guard. I honestly, if things had worked out different in Miami, if they weren't doing the sign and trade with Laurie, if they had like let Dragic go, and I guess maybe lost Duncan or I don't know, something. But like, I honestly could have expected Josh Hart to Miami as a deal that could have happened for like a 2-year contract because Josh Hart, like, he kind of feels like the type of player Miami would like. To me, he feels like a Heat player. He grew up idolizing Dwayne Wade. Like, it could have made a lot of sense. But obviously, after today, I don't foresee Josh Hart being a Miami Heat player.
I mean,
Pain.
Knicks throw money at Taylor and Horton Tucker. Why not? You know, like that might be a huge upside play.
There, 3-and-D player.
Yeah.
I still can't believe Gary Trent, 3 years, $54 million. Like that is.
I have some
that's a
people that I really,
steal.
really respect on Twitter saying that that move didn't really do a whole lot for them, and I don't know how you look at that and say that. Like,
Well, for Toronto,
yeah,
what? Like that's a bargain.
like they don't hate it just
Yeah.
outright. They don't hate it, but they're not like through the moon about it like we are.
I think they're. I'm sure plenty of people are still down about the fact like Toronto. They didn't just like they really missed out on the playoffs this season. They weren't like how many games back were they from the 10th seed? Like
They low key tanked at the end.
yeah. So it's like it all depends. Like I think Toronto's going to come back stronger next season. Like you have OG and Gary Trent with the defense. Both of them can shoot threes. Fred VanVleet with the offense. I think honestly the make or break for Toronto next season is will Siakam learn to not just spin in the paint every single time he gets the ball on offense. If he can get past that, if he can show more not strides, but if he can kind of show off a little bit more of that player he was back in the 2019 finals. I'm not saying he's going to be like that version of himself every night, but if he can bring some of that energy back, like it'll be good for them because we're talking about players. Kind of last point here, like. We're talking about players like Dennis Schroeder, who like from one year to the next really lost all value or like all respect from a lot of people. Like Pascal Siakam from the 2019 finals, he was an all-star in the 2019-2020 season, if I'm not mistaken. And then this past season, just nothing from him. A lot of people were very down on him.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's definitely one of those things where they're giving him a lot of money. He flashed that he could be like probably the second best player on a really good team, but maybe now it's looking like kind of maybe third best player on a really good team. They have a lot of good players. They almost kind of feel a lot like Indiana in a way, right? Where they just have a lot of really good players, maybe one all-star, but that's about it. But I still think that you keep Gary Trent Jr. makes a lot of sense on that team because he gives you floor spacing. Not really a great defender, but he's not a minus defender in my opinion. He's probably about league average, maybe just a tick above. But I mean, you got to have someone coming off this bench if he's not starting to give your team, good looks coming off the bench, and I think that makes a lot of sense.
From we the North to we are the Indiana Pacers of the North.
Yes, the Pacers of the North.
And let me ask you this, because like I said, a lot of Knicks fans not upset, but I just saw someone post this. Is like the Knicks roster has had a lot of turnaround in the years. I think bringing back some pieces is a good thing, just so you don't have that constant turnaround. Bringing back guys who are key contributors may be a benefit. Obviously you can't bring back everyone, but bringing back some guys, having that continuity, I think is important. Something the Knicks have lacked for a long time is continuity, and the same roster. It feels like this roster is always different. Bringing back a roster that's can have that chemistry, I think is kind of important too. Obviously you continue to upgrade, but this every year is like a new damn team. But this, it's
I know what he's gonna say.
what happened.
Zach Collins got 3 for 22 with the Spurs.
Oh, you guys have like
sense.
that. He's a Spur. This guy hasn't played in how many years it feels like, and this guy just got 22 mil.
Year and a half.
You got 7, but think about it though. That's 7 a year. You got to remember, it's all relative.
That's not bad at all. You're only paying him $2 more million a year than Jeff Green got in Denver.
I
right?
just
Like,
think he hasn't played like it. Hey, he feels like a Spur though.
You got him for $7 million a year on a multi-year.
you know why he hasn't paid or why he hasn't played is because he plays in Portland. Like that's not his fault that Portland is like the most injury-riddled franchise ever. Maybe he looks
Alex
better.
Len 2 years with the Kings. No
He's played
figures
there
on that.
before. He's played there before.
All right, fellas. Honor to be
Jared.
on the show.
Jurg has to head out because we got Bunts and Bruises coming on very soon,
Hey.
and I will be on Bunts and Bruises.
Yes.
Talking some baseball. I'm excited to talk some baseball with the guys. So, Jurg, we'll catch you on
A
the
lot
show
of
later.
moves, man. A lot of moves.
Thank you guys for having me on. It was a pleasure to break down with y'all and have a fun time finishing this. And yes, me and Chris will be back on the show very soon here in about 50 minutes, give or take on the time, as we'll break down some baseball with bars, of course.
Yes,
Take
sir.
care, guys.
Take
Hey,
care.
you too, buddy. We'll see you soon.
Be easy.
I'll tell you what
Yeah.
though, that may mean that may take that DeRozan Laurie sign and trade out of play.
You think so?
I mean, you signed Zach Collins on top of Doug McDermott, and McDermott played 70% of his minutes at the 4. You've just loaded up at the 4. I mean,
Alex Len just went to Sacramento. That's a very Sacramento thing to do.
Maybe one of them plays center. Backup center maybe.
maybe, but are you paying? Oh, yeah, I guess you might be.
$7 million a year isn't bad for a back. I mean, we just saw that other centers get signed for more.
McDermott feels more like a 3 or a 4 though. Like, can you really play? You can't play McDermott at the 5.
No, and he's not.
Definitely can't play him at the
not playing. He's not playing the 5.
He's not guarding Jokic.
Unless you're playing Zach Collins. I mean, but Zach Collins is a backup for $7 million. I guess so. I guess it doesn't take him out of the market. But
What's crazy? We all thought Zach Collins was maybe going to get maybe a 1-year deal for like a vet bin, and he just got 3 years, $22 million for a guy who we haven't seen play a lot. It's crazy.
For what it's worth, the Spurs connection with him has been out there for a while. The Spurs are basically signing everybody that they've been rumored to be involved with. So
basically every white person that's available.
That leaves them. San Antonio's still got $28 million in cap space, so they could still make a Laurie deal or someone like that work. They're not gonna leave all that cap space open. Like they'll do something with it.
I mean, there's some wings available.
I don't know
what.
There's some more wings available.
What else is
I'd like to see him get another 4 because they really don't. They had nobody to start at that spot until Zach.
I mean, Blake Griffin's out there.
Yeah, I'm good.
Daniel Tice, another big.
John Collins.
Yeah.
Duncan really got 90 mil.
I'm really surprised it has taken John Collins this long to just agree to something. Like, I figured there was a max on the table somewhere where he could just at least like force the Hawks to do something.
Mo wrote in and said send the Heat to the gulag.
Mike Muscala just signed a 2-year, $7 million deal.
To where?
To the OKC Thunder.
Kind of forgot he was still in the league.
Yeah, he's played in.
He got traded for Zubac, right? Didn't he get traded for Zubac? Was that the trade with the Clippers and Lakers? I believe that was a trade.
No. That was Zubac played for the Lakers, and then he went to the Clippers.
Thomas Muscala was a part of that trade. Maybe I'm thinking of the wrong person.
I think he got traded from Atlanta to Oklahoma, if I'm not mistaken.
Let me see. Mike Muscala.
2 years, $7 million. That's not. I mean, for filling out your bench. No.
Mike Muscala.
You're talking about anywhere from your 10th to 15th man on your roster.
Yeah, Muscala was that in that trade, I believe. But yeah, we just got Mike Muscala off the board.
Yep,
everyone was worried about that.
So that's one of the big dominoes to fall.
Yeah, everyone was on that Mike Muscala tracker.
Yeah, that's what was dictating free agency was Mike Muscala. Like
now
everyone was waiting for him.
Seeing everyone else get signed because
exactly right. DeRozan's going to go now. He was just waiting for Muscala.
Damn. He had to see where Alex Len was heading before he decided.
Yes, Alex. They dictated the market. Let's just be real.
Mike Muscala really just caught him.
He's like, oh wait. Alex Len's going to Sacramento. I need to go as far away as possible from there. I'm going to Miami.
I feel like if Mike Muscala was in this year's draft, the Spurs would have taken him 12th overall this year. I'm not sure though.
Nah, they're off that train. They're off the Eurobig train. They're just off the European train in general. I wrote a lot about that in the pre-draft. They've only taken one European player in the last 6 years.
Who?
Like in either round, San Antonio.
Oh, San Antonio, yeah. They haven't been on that train for a while. It feels like they haven't.
No, they've taken like 2 or 3 in the last decade. It's been a lot of college players. Lots of college players. Like Josh Primo.
Yes.
Josh Primo. Primo sauce over Josh Primo.
I can't believe that you actually canned marinara sauce.
No, I don't. I was
okay.
Googling Primo stuff, and that was the first thing that popped
Oh,
up.
okay. Gotcha.
Do you guys know that when Bargnani was up here in Canada, he used to do Primo pasta commercials?
Bargnani, former Nick Great.
And
Yep,
and
former
and
Nick
I mean,
legend.
they ran those like every hour, and it was like people were joking that he was eating too much pasta, and that's why his career went in the tank. Because he came into training camp one year a little bit overweight, and then they're like, lay off the Primo, like it was bad. Toronto ran him out of town.
And then the Knicks said, "Let's give them 2 first-round picks."
Yeah,
That's what we need.
That might go down as one of the worst. I was like, what? Why?
I don't know the Clipper Cleveland deal where you traded what was it, Mo Williams and Baron Davis, and then attached a first round pick that ultimately ended up being Kyrie Irving. Like that was pretty bad too.
Who?
The trade that was between the Clippers and the Cavaliers.
Oh yeah, because that pick was that wasn't the Cavs pick. That because the Cavs pick was the Tristan Thompson pick.
Oh yep.
And then that was the Clippers. That wasn't originally their pick. Like they got that in that trade you're mentioning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that was the draft
and that Kyrie Irving.
Kyrie, yep.
Yeah, they took Kyrie and Tristan Thompson.
Yep. Which Tristan at 4, that was a huge like head scratcher. Even then, like even before I was like into the scouting like I am now, it's just like, really, you went Tristan Thompson there 4th overall?
Well, it's like with the Pelicans when they took Jackson Hayes. It's just like, why?
Yeah.
Why?
Don't draft a Texas big man. Like that's just the rule. Don't draft a Texas center.
And he was so
you
raw.
can make
like,
fun of where he got drafted, but don't ever tell him that he didn't deserve to be in that Rising Stars game.
Yeah, that was a big deal.
that
was a big deal.
He hasn't had unfortunately, he hasn't had a good.
That's one of my favorite stories in the NBA was him cussing out the NBA for not giving him a spot.
Oh right, he did like a
yeah, he did a
video, right?
He did a video and tagged the NBA and said like it was an absolute joke and basically F the NBA because of it.
Trevor Ariza signed a 1-year deal with the Lakers. We should have all seen that coming.
There we go. Here comes the old people.
There you go.
There we go.
I mean, going back to where it all began for him, right? You know, it was full circle.
Former Nick great too.
Former everybody great.
He was our, I think 2004 he came out, 2nd round at UCLA. I remember that pick.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. So Trevor Ariza is going to the Lakers, and I think, Kenneth, you have to change your counter.
Oh,
we don't know yet. We don't know yet.
Oh, yeah.
He signed a 1-year
deal.
deal.
A 1-year deal?
1-year deal, vet men. Got to change the counter. Still
no, you still got to get one more.
Trevor Ariza, love that guy. Laker great.
Yeah, let's talk to me a little bit about Trevor Ariza going to LA and why this is going to win them a championship.
Yeah, I think this is the big 4 now. It's not a big 3, it's a big 4.
Guys, I'm not that Laker fan that's going to tell you why.
It's a big 4, Kenneth. We know. Just say it. We get it.
Now, keep in mind, guys, Trevor Ariza has already won a championship in LA, so he is coming home to bring home another one, and I think that's what's going to move the needle here is Trevor.
Yeah, I mean 3-and-D guy. You know, we were talking about the spacing. Ultimately, that's
you
what
need to get in a fight. Ariza is one of the guys that you're sending out there. Like he's ready to go.
Yep.
All right. I mean, we are. There's a lot of stuff going on. We won't be on too much longer, but it has been a wild hour and hour and a half,
2 hours, yeah,
almost 2 hours, and we got a lot of stuff. We still have a lot of free agents that are still available. DeRozan is still on the market. Who else we have?
What's going on with Derrick Rose? Not
Derrick Rose
signing with the Knicks yet. What's up with
Derrick
that? You
Rose
figured that would have been one of the first deals.
Yep, Derrick Rose still in. So wondering what the Knicks are going to do with their point guard situation.
They're working out whether Rose is going to get 3 for 75 or 4 for 100.
The max. We're worried about they get the max. We still got Andre Drummond. I mean, it's crazy how what he thought he was going to get.
Schroeder, Powell, Dinwiddie.
Powell, Dinwiddie. That's another guy that I'm sure can command some money in free agency. I mean, we still who else?
I mean, you got former
stars. Blake Griffin, a former star. Like, what happens with him? You know,
PJ Tucker's out there. Danny Green's out there. Patty
know,
Mills is out there. What's going on with Patty? He'd be a good pickup for someone.
yes,
Rudy Gay, Carmelo Anthony.
Melo is another one. Melo, where does
Why
Melo
hasn't
go?
he signed to LA yet?
I
Like that
think-
was another foregone.
I think
conclusion.
that's the next one on Lakers vet minimum counter. I think that will be the second one. That's my bold prediction that he will be going to the Los Angeles Lakers.
I don't know how spicy that take is, but you know, it's
Not
definitely
very
out there.
spicy, but you know,
It's got a little kick, You know, it's
Got a little
mild.
kick.
You know, it's not
Wayne,
hot.
Wayne Ellington going to the Los Angeles Lakers on the vet min.
Uh-oh.
Get the ticker.
Hey,
Go and get the ticker.
betting lines are exploding, boys.
Uh-oh.
That's a
This is where we're
shooter.
gonna-
That's a
It's-
shooter right
If
there.
you
This
hit
is
that
where the
over on
Vetmans-
2.5, over on 2.5 might
Melo's
be
next.
happening.
Melo's next. Now we're gonna get all the vet min guys going.
We
You know,
know
that-
that Blake Griffin loved his time in Los Angeles. Is he going to be a Laker for a 1-year vet
No, I
man
think he's
deal?
back to Brooklyn.
You think he stays
The
in Brooklyn?
Lakers were waiting for all the big names to go off the board so they could steal the headlines with Ariza and Ellington.
Yeah, I can't wait for that to be talked about on SiriusXM radio for a long time about how those are going to be great pickups.
Did this move the needle for the Lakers? Ellington, keep in mind, is
He's a 40% 3-point. That's the
Yeah.
only thing you're going to hear is they
Yeah.
added a couple plus 3-point shooters. Paul Millsap, another
Now
guy.
let's talk about Trevor Ariza when he played with Kobe, because he's the same player now that he was then. Like, maybe not.
Give him the number 3 again. Well, no, you can't do that. Anthony Davis is supporting that because LeBron would give up 23 for him.
Yeah, I mean, so we got Ariza. You
Nick
know,
Batum.
LeBron switched his number to 6 for next year. So does AD go back to 23?
Did he switch it?
I think so. Yeah.
That's interesting. I
What
don't know
happened?
Why that hasn't been a bigger story.
LeBron switched his number. I'm pretty sure.
yeah, he's
Lou
6 now.
Williams is out there.
Lou Will. Yeah, there's a lot of
Alex
names.
Russo, the bald eagle himself, Rudy Gay.
JJ Redick is still,
Somebody
you know,
signed. Yes, somebody please sign Rudy Gay so we don't have to.
JJ.
Rudy Gay.
Yeah, that's,
Rudy Gay feels like he's been around forever.
Rudy feels like another Heat guy, you know? He feels like
Yeah.
he'd be a Miami dude.
JJ Stan.
I feel like when you start your my career in 2K, like that's where Rudy always ends up.
Well, we got some. Yeah, let's see who else gets signed. But I
You
won't.
said Reggie Bullock got signed. Did he go to
He
Dallas?
went to Dallas. Yeah, he went to the Dallas Mavericks.
Dallas has not made a major move, but they've made small ones that are going to be very impactful with the way that Luka runs that team.
Yeah. They'll-
Like
I wonder what they'll.
even just keeping Hardaway, bringing in Brown, bringing in Bullock, like those are all guys that are going to play really well alongside him.
I just
Yeah.
asked for, when we started this show, I asked for one thing. I asked for the stretch 4 market, and they decided not to do it. So
Wasn't Zach Collins kind of a stretch for?
Stretchy. He's stretchy.
the only thing that stretches about Zach Collins is his leg in that wheelchair every time he gets hurt.
Okay.
He might
Again,
need
he
to
played
be
in
clapped per
Portland.
game. Clapped
Again,
per game.
He played in
What?
Portland. I don't know how we can judge his injury history because it's just a place where people go to get hurt.
Yeah.
Well, he's like we're not even sure. Like reading about it now, they're not even sure he's going to be ready to start the season. Like, dude
That's the
broke
guy
his
that you
foot
throw
2
$8
weeks
million a
ago.
year at. Yeah.
Dude broke his foot like 2 weeks ago again. So
Jeez.
Yeah, right. Then he re-injured. Yeah, he's had some bad luck. That's definitely a lot of bad luck for him. But
that feels like the type of dude who got out and the lights were off, and he just like walked into a wall and shattered his foot.
there's just certain guys that just
They're just
Oh,
not
yeah.
built.
John
for it.
Wall's injury
They're
was
not
one
built.
was one of the craziest things I've ever heard. Like, I mean, like when he slipped in the shower or whatever.
yeah.
And then, like,
Is
he
he-
got out of the shower knowing that he had, like, blown an Achilles and, like, fell down the stairs and, like, broke some other bone.
Yeah. He just
So
unfortunate
bad.
injuries. Well, it's like Clay.
Hey, Steven. Already, Chris Haynes tweeting out Wayne Ellington shot 42% from 3 last season in Detroit and is a career 38% shooter from beyond the
Yep.
arc.
There you go. Here it comes.
Big Five. The Big Five.
Get it started, boys.
Lakers got a Big Five now.
They got their
Dominating.
starting guard. Russell Westbrook's going to be the 6th man of the year on this team coming off the bench.
That's
Wayne
funny.
Ellington starting.
That's funny. But I won't keep you guys long. This has been fun. We got a lot of stuff, a lot of big news, a lot of big free agent signings. We're
Lonzo
gonna get
Ball
some more.
being, I think, not the biggest name moved, obviously, but I think that's been the biggest deal is Alonzo Ball to Chicago. I think that's going to be the most
It was
impactful.
also the first one.
That was the first one, and I think a lot of people
No,
thought
it
that
was
would be
literally
the
like
first.
five.
It was literally
5 o'clock in 1 second. Like literally, as soon as the clock hit.
It's one of the first deals that the first deal.
Denver keeping
that
Barton on the cheap, Jermichael Green coming back to Denver on the cheap, adding
Sterling
Jeff Green
Brown.
on the cheap.
Sterling Brown going to Dallas, I think, is an underrated move.
Someone tweeted the Lakers probably signed Ariza because LeBron was like, "Fine, I'll get AD to play the 5, but you're not allowed to make me play the 4."
He better be the 5. His 7-footer, like go bang in the post, man. But
He's only 6'10", dude. That's
6'10", right. That's like
Zach
KG's only 6'10".
Zach Collins has had 3 ankle surgeries in the last 10 months and labrum surgery before that.
Oh man, he only got 22 mil still.
over 3
Crazy.
years. I mean, 7 mil. Like,
I
7
tweeted
million.
out that he'll be lucky to play as many games as he made millions off that contract. So we'll see.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a go. We'll see with that, but
That'd be an entertaining betting line to look at.
it really would because he hasn't played a lot, but
They'll
fellas,
get advantage. They'll make sure he gets healthy. I mean, San
let's hope
Antonio.
so.
Oh,
San-
real quick.
He's solid.
Real quick, this is a good point that Nate Duncan from the Dunked On podcast tweeted out. He said, "Good work by Clutch Sports and Gary Trent Jr. not engaging with Portland last year, when that would have been a 4-year, $53 million deal. Now that he gets
3 years, right?
3 years, 54, so getting a little bit more, and there
There you
might
go.
be incentives in there too. So he bet on himself a little bit.
Solid deal, definitely a solid deal. That was one of my better deals of the day, as far as the value of.
I love him,
3
man.
years, 54. He's one of my favorite. He was one of my
I
favorite.
might value him
agents.
too much, but still.
Yeah, I'm probably the same way, but I felt like that was such a great deal for him. But we saw some wild deals. We saw Duncan get 90 mil and CP3 $120. So we saw a lot of deals. But I appreciate all you guys hopping on with me for this. This was fun. Free agent off the ball, free agent frenzy, brought to you by my bookie. Like I said, make sure to head on to my bookie and use promo code off the ball, and go win some money. You get they're 100% sign up fee, and you get up to, I believe, $1,000 on that. So go in there, use promo code off the ball. And let's go around the horn, see if you guys got any projects before we sign off. Walker, you started off. Thanks for coming on, Walker. This is the first time we've interacted on a live. Might see me seeing your face live. So it was dope chatting up with you with these 2 hours. So you got anything going on?
Not yet. We'll start kind of announcing some stuff here soon about podcast stuff. But other than that, just kind of keep an eye on social media, and I'll probably have some stuff that I've written up kind of post free agency, and as we kind of continue to go through this little moratorium phase of free agency. So I'll probably have some stuff coming out, and it's all through my Twitter, which is in my description down here. So other than that, no, not yet. Nothing that we're gonna put out yet.
Kenneth?
You can follow me on all social platforms at shooters_pod. We've got our live show tomorrow night, AFC West preview show. We'll also be talking about all the major moves from tonight and leading into tomorrow as well, as far as free agency goes here. Golf betting articles Wednesday, fantasy football article Friday. Those are going to be all month long in August. So definitely something you want to keep an eye out for. And thanks for having me on, Chris.
That men counter is going to 3, I think. Dwight Howard is going back to the Lakers.
Boom! We hit the over, boys.
We hit the
There you
over.
go.
Lock it
We
in.
hit the over before we sign off, and the over 2.5. It is 3. Dwight Howard is going back to the Los Angeles
Run it
Lakers.
back.
They're gonna run it back. They're gonna be the oldest team in the league, probably.
Well, not running it back. Dwight was on the Sixers last year.
But he's coming back. He's running.
And
He's running back.
Then had the
He's coming
balls.
back.
Then had the balls to go to Atlanta and sit courtside to watch the team that kicked his ass play in the Eastern Conference Finals.
So Dwight Howard going back as we sign off. He's going back to the team that helped him win a championship. Like you said, a lot of top free agents available. Steven, before we sign off, where do people find you? And you got any projects for?
Solomon
Yes.
Hill back to the Hawks.
Okay. Solomon Hill.
We're getting it. I'm getting it all in before we get off.
No, please do. That doesn't hurt my feelings at all. I like
One year
updating my
deal
tracker.
with no figures announced yet. So I'd imagine I would imagine that.
It's a vet probably.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a great. Yeah, I mean they're deep at his position, so why not? You know.
Yeah,
get
that's a
that
10
in.
through 15 guy that plays when you're up by 40.
Yep, absolutely. All right. So, as for me, you want to follow me on Twitter, you can do so at StephenBTG. That BTG stands for Breaking the Game, which is the name of the podcast that I host. Obviously, NBA centric. Just had an episode come out recently with who did I have on? I've had a lot of people on recently. Oh, I had Max Von Auken of the Sports Talk 2319, and that was a great show. Next show, did a little bit of work with another Nothing But Net alumni. I'm going to keep that one a little hush hush, but tune in Monday for Off the Ball Monday, starting at 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Pacific, followed by Mo Murphy's Up in Flames show. And then obviously, Chris, you follow him up at noontime Eastern. And then later that night, you get to listen to the Hoopers. So Off the Ball Monday, start your Mondays off right. You can follow Breaking the Game on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter at BTG NBA Pod. Obviously, anywhere podcasts are available, you can find Breaking the Game. Your subscription, your reviews, and your ratings are very much appreciated. Obviously, sharing and talking, about it, at the water cooler with your friends is cool as well. I have a couple projects in the works. I'm doing kind of my players ranking now. You guys got to see a little bit of kind of the cover art that I'm working on with that. So y'all got the sneak peek, but it's fun. I'm going to have 4 tiers: MVPs, stars, demi stars, and super starters. Just to kind of put it out there into the ether. Just stand by for that. That's going to be a fun little project that I'm going to turn into a series of shows coming up on the Nothing But Net channel on Dash Radio.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Tune in for that. And you can follow me on Twitter on Off the Ball Pod. Also, make sure to follow OTB_network, Off the Ball Network on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all that good stuff. We're going to be firing off, all the breaking news that's going on. Shout out to Edgar for who's handling the Twitter right now.
Shout out to Edgar.
He's on it with all the breaking news. So, stay on track there. But on that note, NBA free agent frenzy is done. But it's not done in reality. The show is done, but we still got free agency is still piling on. We got a lot of free agents still available. So, like I said, follow us, follow Walker, follow Steven, follow myself, follow OTB, OTB_network on Twitter to catch up on all the breaking news because it's going quick. So, but on that note, be well, be safe, take care, guys. Peace and love.
Much love.